Good morning. I knew I'd forget that. 2 minutes ago, I went, don't forget to unmute your mic when you go live. So I go live and forget. Dad said, I've got the memory of a bloody goldfish. No. So I just had to go into another screen and turn the volume down so I can do polls this morning, guys. I forgot to do them last week, so I'm going to do them this morning. So I have to go into a separate screen so I can do polls, because this screen I'm on at the moment's on StreamYard, and then I have to go into YouTube itself so I can do the poll. So I want to run a few polls this morning, get your idea. Hope you're all well, everyone. That was a good start, wasn't it? I ballsed it up right from the start. Good one, Buck, you bloody diddly dong. All the usual suspects are on. All the lads down there, they're camping with mates, lads, rather than go through. You're all on. Hope you're all well, except for Bradley Howe. Where's Brad? Brad's not on yet. Jack Turtle's on in Harvey Bay. How's Harvey Bay recovered, Jack? Gee whiz, it copped it this time last week, guys. We were bloody going live to Harvey Bay and they were getting flooded. I'll tell you what, we're getting a lot of rain up here at the moment too, guys. Tully's flooding as we speak. So the wet season is not over up here in far north Queensland. Toddy's on, the Pump Koala. G'day, mate. How are you? Who else we got? Timmy Ryan was on there. G'day, Tim. How are you, mate? All the camping with mates, lads. You all know who you are. Hope you're all well. Lukey Reed's on from down in Tassie. G'day, Lukey. Hope you're all well. Yeah, we're just going to do a when I'm just sitting at home on a Sunday morning. I might make this a regular thing, guys. As a Sunday morning catch up, Sunday morning jibber about things that have happened during the week. Talking about all sorts of shit, footy and bloody all that type of stuff. Speaking of footy, I haven't got my Cowboys cap on, have I? Because they are useless. We'll be talking about the Cowboys, and that's my first poll this morning, everyone. We're going to be talking about that soon. How bad are they? It's going to be a long year for me. It's going to be a really long year. Toddy's on. G'day, mate. Toddy Higginson. Hope you're all well. Where are you tuning in from, Toddy? I forget where you're at now, mate. What part of this great country are you tuning in from? Alan Power, g'day, mate. G'day to you. Slacken won't be on this morning, guys. He's out with a family. He's gone to some Toronto sporting carnival or some sporting bloody thing over there in Toronto at the moment. So Slacken sent me a thing last night and said I won't be on, Buck, unless I get home a little bit early. Nick Taylor, morning. How's the weather in Harvey Bay? Yeah, Jack's going to give us a quick update soon, guys. Jack might put something in the comment section. Hope you can hear me and see me okay. I forgot to ask that because I stuffed it up from the start. I presume if you couldn't hear me, everyone would be telling me by now. Who else did I? Big T. Super this morning, lost 11,000 overnight. Big T, was that on the stock market, mate, or your super? I'm not going to look at my super at the moment. Or was that on crypto, or what was it on, mate? Obviously, you've lost. But don't worry, mate. Things go up and down like a bloody yo-yo, don't they? Especially with the big orange corn chip bloody in charge at the moment. She's a bit volatile at the moment. Don't panic, everyone. Don't panic. It's not going to last forever. I can't touch me super for another 7 years. I can touch it in July, but the DBA's got me over a barrel, so mine's stuck in there till 67. So even if it goes down right now, he's only in for 4 years, guys. It'll bounce back. Mark Spalding, the Cowboys are welcome to Johnny Bateman. Best thing was to get rid of him. Yeah, Mark, a lot of people are saying that he's been good for the Cowboys, but I'll tell you what, it takes more than one bloke to make a bad team or a good team, doesn't it? Bless you. Nathan Cleary, I guess. Gazwa, morning, Buck. Enjoying the semi-regular Sunday jibbers. Yeah, Gaz, we'll probably make it a regular thing, mate, when I'm at home, obviously. Even if I'm out in the caravan, I'll probably do one on a Sunday morning out of the caravan if I need to via Starlink. Speaking of Starlink, everyone, you know I don't like that friggin' idiot that owns that company. And I'm almost reluctant to support him anymore. But I spent $799 on that bloody thing. But, part of me wants to throw it in the bin. But that'd be just silly, wouldn't it? So anyway, Steve's on from Soar Adventures. Mate, I was watching your clip this morning. Dead set, you need to put a hat back on. He's straight out of, I reckon he got straight out of the bathroom from the hair dye, straight on camera. Steve did. Your hair was looking good, mate. I'll tell you, it was looking good. Tofty even messaged me and said, "Look at Fuller's hair. It's looking good." Oh, there you go, Steve's. Yeah, I know, mate. Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? You know, like I've spent $799 on it. It's to not use it now would be. I'm not turning mine on anymore. Starlink can get stuff. Yeah, I know. Part of me wants to do that too, Steve. But when you go away, you still need comms and all that. Ivan and Lisa are on. G'day, Ivan and Lisa. I was jibber jabbering there and missed just come on the. I think we'll do a few more shout outs, guys, before we get into the worst part of the morning, the footy scores. I've been dreading that. I've got them all written down. We still got 2 games to go today, haven't we? NRL, I'm talking, guys. If you're down in Mexico or South Australia or over west, I don't really follow the Aussie rules. Sorry, guys. I probably should get a bit more involved and at least put the scores up. I'm out of touch with Aussie rules. I don't follow it at all, everyone. I followed the green final last year only because the Brisbane Lions were playing. I don't even normally watch the green final of the Aussie rules. I just was brought up not following that game. It's up there with soccer for me. I just don't follow it. And even rugby union. I used to be a big rugby union fan, guys, and I just lost interest in rugby union now. Since it all went to pay TV and all that, I used to love watching the Wallabies and the All Blacks, and I played rugby union my entire time in the army. I was a big rugby union fan, but I've just lost interest in this Super 15s. It's not on free-to-air TV, and I don't know. I don't follow it anymore. 6 Knots is on. G'day, mate. You guys are in, or is it Knots on the Bay? One of you Knots channels is in Harvey Bay. I forget. Is it Knots on the Bay? I think it's Knots on the Bay's in Harvey Bay. Chrissy Anderson. I don't know if Chrissy will be on this morning. Chrissy's house got a flogging last week, guys. I don't know if you saw the video of it. Chris's house just got inundated with water. It was coming through like a river. So, Chrissy, we're thinking of you, mate. We hope the recovery of that's going well. And Terry G and Robin got water through their house too. Crazy Dog almost got flooded, guys. I think he just saved it in time. But I know Terry and Robin had water through their house, and Chrissy Anderson got the worst of it, guys. He got absolutely, there was like a river running through his house. And it didn't. Hey, Jared, how are you, mate? Jared's on. And it didn't help. Chris wasn't keeping the water out anyway, but people are flying along his road in 4-wheel drives, and I mean belting along, and you could see every time one of them was going through the water, a big bow wave was coming down his driveway and going through his house. All those bloody idiots in those 4-wheel drives that go scorching around during the floods and that, and just all they do is put water through businesses and through people's houses. A pack of arseholes, they really are. Why is everyone up Starlink? Yeah, I wonder why, Paulie. I wonder why, mate. He's on the nose at the moment, old Elon, isn't he? Mind you, SpaceX has just launched yesterday, I think, to get those 2 astronauts that have been stranded up in space for 9 months. So let's hope SpaceX can bring them back home, eh? That'll be fantastic. Feather in Elon Musk's hat if they can bring them 2 home safely. Something NASA hasn't been able to do. It'll be a good feather in his hat. So, yeah. $30 at the barbers. Did that include the hair dye, Steve? Was that dyed as well, or was that just the haircut? Or was that, or are you sponsored by Grecian 2000? Remember that stuff? I've actually used that once, many, many years, probably 30 years ago, when I first started going grey, and you rub this stuff through your hair, and you just it's like you just comb it through your hair, and after a week, your hair goes dark. And I think they found it was giving everyone cancer, so I stopped using that. But that was when I first started going grey, and I thought, we can't have this. Now I just couldn't give a shit. I haven't got any hair to go grey anymore anyway. Ah, dear. Is Kane Higgins on? Where is he? The diddly donk from Serena. G'day, Kane. How are you, mate? Hey, but good morning from a wet Mackay in North Queensland. It is very wet up here too, Kane. Very, very wet. We've had a lot of rain, mate. Tully's flooding. The truck went off the road near Tully and flipped. I don't think he saw the flood waters or whatever. So, yeah, we're flooding up here again, guys. So, it's... yeah, very, very wet. She's almost torrential rain last night. I guess it can be debated with Doge. With Doge, yeah, I know we won't go too far into that, mate. But listen, we need that here in Australia too. I think it's good that they're going through all the departments and trying to trim the fat and stop wasteful spending. I think we all agree on that, but I think they're cutting things that they shouldn't cut. Veteran Affairs was one of them, and a lot of the veterans are offside now over there in America. We need that here in Australia too. There is no doubt about that. We all know we need something like that. We don't need that bloody idiot going through. But isn't that Jacinta Price's portfolio? If LNP party get in, that's going to be one of her portfolios is to cut down on waste and spending. I'll tell you what, let Mr. Buccaroony go through the books for a week, and I'll tell you what, I'll be trimming some fat off, and I'll be starting with all the shit countries that we give money to that have got nothing to do with us. Phil my son sent me a big thing of where a lot of our money goes each year, and it's going to some countries there, and you think, why are we supporting that country? They don't like us for a start. Why are we just wasting money on countries that we've got no affiliation with whatsoever? We need to start reining it in. I'm all for supporting. We should be supporting ourselves and the Pacific Island nations. That is it. Okay. And Ukraine. I agree with supporting Ukraine. I think you've got to be on one side of the fence or the other with Ukraine, but because they're under siege at the moment, everyone. But when it comes to just general giving money out to keep these smaller countries going, I think we need to concentrate on our South Pacific Island nations and keeping them strong, keeping them on side, letting them all know that Australia is here for you guys. We're the big brother here, and we're going to help you out. And we're going to keep the South Pacific free and bloody peaceful, and be able to look after our own region of the world. Some of the other parts of the world are an absolute disgrace at the moment, aren't they? Israel and Palestine, have a look at that. Russia and Ukraine. Yemen, I think the Yanks started bombing the Houthi rebels in Yemen overnight, and I agree with that. Those arseholes are targeting the shipping going up through the Red Sea into the Suez Canal on that. You can't have that. It affects all of us, guys. All the ships that bring all our stores and our stuff down here travel through there, and the Houthi rebels are targeting them. So that's another country that needs to be wiped off the face of the earth. Is that bloody starts with Y? You know what I mean? Aussie, g'day. No more money for Ukraine. Well, that's your opinion, mate. That's your opinion, and you're entitled to it. I disagree with you. Okay? They're under siege from a putrid country, mate. Someone's got to help them out. If we don't, and the Western world don't help them out, what do? Just let the Russians take them over. That's the option. I bet if Australia was under siege like Ukraine, you wouldn't be saying that, mate. If other countries were giving us money to arm ourselves up and protect ourselves, you wouldn't be saying that, Aussie. Okay, just because it's the Ukrainians. They're a sovereign country, mate. And something's going to give there soon. We'll see what happens. Anyway, we'll have a chat about that later. But I know a lot of people are of the same opinion as you, mate. I don't agree with it. I think we've got to help them out. Let's hope there's peace there soon, and something gets sorted out, because too many people dying. No one wants to see wars happen anywhere. But you can't stand back and I keep going back to my rant a couple of weeks ago, guys. What happens now? Someone's getting belted up in a supermarket, for example, or everyone, instead of jumping in and helping out that person, everyone stands back now, takes their phone out of their pocket and starts filming. But no one goes in and helps. And that's just the way society is now. It's bullshit. I wasn't brought up that way, mate. I was brought up that if someone's in trouble, you get in and help them. Rightio, let's go. Brad Howell is on. Bradley's back on now. So we've got the full Camping with Mates crew there. I got contacted by the caravan park the other day, fellas, and they wanted to know a bit more information about what kind of caravan I had, and just so they can put me, I don't know, they've already put me on a site, so I thought it was a bit late them coming back asking me what kind of caravan I got. They've already put me on a site. So anyway, I gave them the info. Well, maybe he did, mate. Maybe he was over there trying to get support for his country too. That's why he's traveling around. He's trying to keep support for his country and keep his country going, mate. So, as I said, replace Ukraine with Australia, guys. I reckon you'd all be talking a little bit different now. And how many of yous would be lining up to get a rifle in your hand? Have a real hard think about that, all you people that are knocking Ukraine. Would you bloody step up and grab a rifle if this country came under siege? I highly doubt it now. Seeing a lot of people now, they'd all piss their pants and run away. And that's what's happening in Ukraine. There's a lot of young men in their 20s and 30s that have taken off over into bloody other Europe. Oh, I don't want to fight. Their country's under siege and they're running away. Bullshit. Wouldn't it, you know? When Australia was under siege in World War II, people were bloody trampling over the top of each other to grab a 303 and go up and fight the Japs. But we live in a different era now. We live in a different era and men are not the men they used to be, let me tell you. We're getting weaker with each generation. My old man thought I was weak, and probably his old man thought he was weak. And, you know, I look at the younger generations after me now and I think, my God, what's happening to this world? Yeah. Yeah, did you see the bloke that stopped the bloke in America from getting on the plane with guns and bombs and all sorts of things? There was wasn't there something in Australia? Someone tried to get on to a Jetstar flight. There was something about that as too. It sounded similar to that one there. Maybe not as. Where are these rifles to be handed out? Army Reserve depots, mate. And one would hope, Reddy, on that, that's a good point. One would hope that we make firearms here at Lithgow Small Arms Factory, the EF88. I bet they haven't, but there should be a massive surplus of weapons ready to go all around Australia at Army Reserve depots and things like that, so that if something ever happens, ex-military people can rock up, grab a uniform, grab a rifle, and do something. Anyone who served, and I'll tell you now, anyone who has served, even old pricks like me, we'd be in there tomorrow to grab a uniform and a rifle and go, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me? Okay. And we need to have, that's a good point, Brady. We should have a massive reserve of weapons and ammunition and all that type of stuff ready to go here. I bet we haven't. I bet we haven't got enough uniforms. If we were to mobilise tomorrow, I bet we wouldn't have enough equipment to kit everyone out that volunteered to line up. They wouldn't. You'd have to wait for them to send it off to China to get more uniforms made or something. Yeah, I know where you're coming from there, mate. I understand what you're trying to say. I'm 40 minutes from the SAF. SAF, what's SAF, mate? Special Action Force or something. SAF. Big fella, what's SAF? Maybe I should probably know that. Hey, let's get into some footy scores. Over the weekend so far, guys, with the NRL, all you blokes down in Newcastle will be crowing about now. The Knights got up 26-12 over the Dolphins on Friday night. Dolphins were their worst enemy. Fins down, everyone. Small Arms Factory, Lithgow, yes, and we should be pumping out a lot of weapons, mate. There should be weapons for, if we need to mobilise tomorrow, we need to have those weapons ready to go. We should have and ammunition to go with it. So, yeah, Dolphins were their own worst enemy on Friday. I kept dropping the ball, everyone. Now, this one surprised me over in New Zealand, guys. I thought the Warriors were in all sorts after their first game, but they got up 36-16 over Manly over in New Zealand. I think that was on Friday night as well. And I think Tommy Turbo has been injured again, and Cherry Evans. Tommy's a great player, everyone, but he's a China doll. He breaks too easy, that guy. He's always getting injured. He really is. When he's fit and healthy, he's fantastic. So Warriors got up there. What a great game. No, that was Thursday. That was Thursday night, the Knights and Dolphins. And then Warriors Manly were the first Friday afternoon game. And then the Roosters and Penrith. Great game there. I missed that game. I turned it on just as To'o went over in the corner, and it was a no try to even the game. But well done to the Roosters. Everyone was writing the Roosters off after first game. They got up over the Premiers, Penrith. Great game. Rabbitohs and Dragons. Up by Rabbitohs got a field goal to win that one, 25-24. Saturday night, the Sharks 36, Cowboys 12. The Cowboys are in all sorts, everyone, and I'm going to put a poll up. They're in all sorts of trouble. They haven't got a real good team this year, I'm telling you now. Start a poll. Hopefully that'll come up and you can see it. Will the Cowboys get the wooden spoon this year? I reckon they're going to give it a shake. They'll be down there somewhere challenging for the wooden spoon. Let me know if that's come up, guys. Can you see that poll? Oh, yeah, it's come up on, use it 62% now. I reckon that the 59 is going down. So, I don't know. I've got no faith in the Cowboys. They need a new coach, I think. That coach has got to go. Todd Payton, I don't think he's the man for the job. He's not going to win us a premiership at all. And we certainly won't be challenging for the grand final this year after we're nearly 80 points in 2 games. No, our forward pack's too small. We've got some big boppers, some big forwards sitting in the Q Cup at the moment. Tamalolo, Michaeli, we got some big boppers in there. Our forward pack, when you got Ruben Cotter playing front, he's not a front rower. Come on. He's a lock. He's a number 13, Ruben Cotter. But anyway, we might come good. I'm not writing them off after 2 games, but it's not looking good. Not looking good at all. Yeah, exactly right, Wixie. Wixie said the Roosters were written off, and next minute they beat the bloody Panthers. So you don't know. And but I've got no faith in the Cowboys this year, guys. I think we're in a real big rebuilding stage at the moment. Got a lot of young blokes coming through. They're too small at the moment. We need some bigger boys in the forwards. And another good game, Canberra. Watch this one. Canberra and the Broncos. Canberra got up 32-22 over the Broncos. The Broncos came back, but Canberra way too good at home against the Broncos. The Broncos showed some signs of good stuff there with Adam Reynolds and Ben Hunt in the halves. I think the Broncos, don't write them off yet, guys. They're just finding their feet. They're going to be there and abouts this year, I think. And the Cowboys and Broncos are on next. I've got my legs stuck under my table. Cowboys and Broncos next week in Brisbane. I think the Broncos will do a job on the Cowboys. I think it'll be an ugly scoreline, just quietly. I hate to say that because I hate the Broncos, especially when they're playing the Cowboys. I think the Bronx will do a job on them. And today, everyone, this afternoon, if you've got nothing to do, grab a beer or whatever you're doing. It's Parramatta and the Tigers. That could go either way. I don't really care who wins that game. And the Bulldogs and the Titans. Go the Titans. So the Dogs are at home to the Titans. That'll be a good game. If the Titans can click, that will be a good game. So, but anyway, there's the footy scores from the weekend. Not good for me. Good for your Newcastle supporter. Kalen Ponga's looking good, isn't he? He's chiming in and he's looking good, and that's good for Queensland. When Ponga starts playing well, I always sit back as a Cowboys fan, obviously follow my team, but I'm always watching the Queenslanders in the other teams. I'm always going, and when you get Cherry Evans injured, you think, there's our state of origin halfback, everyone. So you don't like seeing that. I'm always looking back I've got the Queensland hat on as well, And I love seeing the Queensland players do well. And Kalen Ponga, he's really stepping up this year. It looks like it could be a really good year for him, which is great for Newcastle, isn't it? Don't mind Newcastle. Dane Gagai is another one. Another Queenslander. Love seeing Gagai go really, really well. He's one of my favourite players, Dane Gagai. He's a strange one, isn't he? He plays for the Maori All-Stars sometimes, and then he's bloody next minute he's in the Indigenous All-Stars. He's got a bit of Torres Strait Islander in him and Māori as well. So I think he doesn't know what he is. He plays for whatever team he feels like at the start of the year. Go Raiders has been on them since the 89. Been on them since the 89 grand final. One of the best grand finals ever, Aussie, that one. Was that when Steve Jackson went over? Was that when Steve Jackson bulldozed his way over to win the grand final? 89? I can't remember now. Yeah. No, that was the or was that the Tigers? Was that the Tigers Raiders grand final when Steve Roach and them? Parramatta will beat the Tigers. Yeah, it could go either way, eh? The Tigers have picked up bloody Luai and a few other players this year. So that'll probably be a good game, actually, Parramatta and the Tigers. It'll probably end up being a really good close game. So anyway, we'll find out this afternoon. Right, let's get on to some other stuff, guys. We'll get off the footy. I'd say if the Cowboys had a good win, I'd be still talking about it, but we'll get off that because they're shite. Let's go to that poll, everyone, and I'll finish the poll. 60% reckon that 60% say that the Cowboys will get the wooden spoon. So I'll end the poll there. 60-40. Yeah, I reckon they'll be around there somewhere, everyone. They really will. Now, the other good news, I'll do some more polls later on, guys. So hang in there. Thanks for being part of that one. Thanks to all the 60%iers who think my team's going to get the wooden spoon. Arseholes. I do too. I think they'll be battling it out this year for the wooden spoon. Now, there was some good news come out. A lot of people tried to get me involved in this one, and I didn't get involved, but I was certainly on his side. Remember that Stefan from All Off-Road 4x4? All Off-Road 4x4. My tongue's squeaking. It did it twice. I don't know what it is. I just went to talk and a little squeaky noise come out of me. Or is it my chair? I can't remember. I can hear a little squeak every time I say certain letters. I might be developing a lisp or something like that. So Stefan from All Off-Road 4x4 had a win against a company called DCS, guys. They tried to sue him. He got one of their lithium batteries and apparently did a review on it, and he gave an honest review and said they're not up to speed and whatever like that. And they tried to take him to court. Anyway, Stefan, it is. My tongue's squeaking. Where's my chair? Something's squeaking. I don't know what it is. Might be my neck when I turn it. I might need some WD-40 in my neck. So he had a win against DCS, which was fantastic. When someone goes on YouTube and gives an honest product review, and then you can get sued for it, I think a lot of YouTubers were a little bit taken a backward step there and weren't really game to say too much. But the courts ruled against that. And I think there's a difference between slandering a company and all that and doing an honest review, isn't there? I think that's YouTube. And I think as long as YouTubers keep it like that, if you got an item, and that's something I pride myself on, I like to think if I get an item, I tell you the good parts about it and the other parts that I don't think. And let's face it, a lot of us go onto YouTube. If we're thinking of buying an item, I'll give you my new tyres, for example, the Falcon Wild Peak tyres, guys. I asked you guys for your opinion, and I got it. And a lot of you put me in the direction of Falcon Wild Peak all-terrains, which are on the BT50 now. But I did a lot of research on YouTube too. American and a Pommy bloke on there. And they got good reviews. So YouTube's a big source of information for a lot of people. And I know when you're looking at buying a camping item or a battery or a new vehicle or whatever, you go into YouTube and you look for reviews on that item. And if there's a lot of negative stuff on there about it, you'll probably steer away from that item. So I think it's important that for YouTubers, we keep it honest, keep it real, but companies can't turn it into Rafa, yeah. Companies can't start suing people because you say something that they don't agree with. And there's a few companies out there that are like that, and they can't take a little bit of constructive criticism, which is a bit worrying, isn't it? So anyway, that Stefan guy had a good win there. Now, I know there's some sad news, guys. That is my tongue squeaking. I don't know why. There's funny noise coming out of my back of my tongue when I talk. What's that about? Anyway, might need another coffee. Another shark attack. Another one, guys, down in Esperance in Western Australia. This one was another fatal one. There was a fatal one only a few weeks ago on Bribey Island. A young, was a 16-year-old girl, young surf lifesaver, was out practicing a swimming and got hit by a shark. I'm not quite sure what kind of shark that was, probably a tiger or a bull shark or whatever. This one down at Esperance, a surfer got hit. That was no doubt a great white that hit him. And they didn't even find his body, guys. They didn't, the mate's out with him. They couldn't find his body. So it's obviously taken him bloody holus bolus. So they didn't even get a body back so the family could have a burial, poor bugger. Down at Esperance, which is a beautiful part of Western Australia, a place I want to go to, where the water is just turquoise, crystal clear. He was about 50 metres offshore surfing and got nailed by a great white, no doubt. Dear, oh dear. So that brings me on to my next poll, everyone. And should there be, I know he said, his family have said, he wouldn't want to support a cull on sharks and all that. And you always hear that type of stuff. So start a poll. I'll put two animals in here. Should we start culling? There you go. Get up it. When I go into the other screen to type that, YouTube is about 5 seconds behind thing. Elon's wired me up. So should we start? There's no doubt about it, guys. Shark attacks are on the rise. Shark sightings are on the rise. You see a lot of fishing. You watch a lot of fishing channels now. People can't get a fish into the boat anymore without the sharks getting it. Like, we protect animals and their numbers get out of control. Okay. Is it time we did a shark cull? And is it time we did a croc cull? I'll tell you, you know what my opinion is on crocodiles up here in far north Queensland? But there's just too many of them now. There is too many of them. I know they have drum lines and that, and they often pick up bloody sharks off the drum lines and that. So they're not fully protected. I know great whites and that are, but is it time to start knocking a few on the head and thin the numbers out a bit, guys? People will say, just stay out of the ocean. Well, we're Australians. We were brought up, going in the water and going surfing and going swimming and all that. Yeah, there's always been sharks in the water, but it just feels like at the moment the odds are tipped in their favour. And you go and you just don't see people swimming up here at all because there's too many crocs, and you don't know where they're going to be. You don't know where the sharks are going to be either. So, yeah, I think we should be. I think we need to control the numbers. I know with alligators in Florida, they have a hunting season over there, and you've got to have a permit, and you can get 1 or 2 alligator, and that keeps the numbers down. So they're not wiping them out, but it keeps the numbers in check, everyone. We do it with feral animals, don't we? Keep the numbers in check. Well, maybe it's time to keep the numbers in check of animals that can eat us. Crocodiles and sharks. Keep the numbers in check, maybe. Why are there so many sharks coming in closer to shore now? Is there a lack of food out in the ocean for them? And they're coming in close? I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is, but yeah. Craig's saying they cull the cattle killers up in the Northern Territory. Absolutely. I don't know why the Indigenous people don't hunt crocodile more. Yeah, I don't know why they don't hunt the crocodiles a bit more and eat them. You can eat crocodile. I mean, you can go to restaurants and get crocodile. They farm crocodiles here in my hometown of Innisfail for meat and mainly for skin for Louis Vuitton. So there's a croc farm, a croc farm here, and they harvest them for their skins for Louis Vuitton. Obviously, the meat must go to restaurants and that as well. Maybe we need to start knocking some crocs on the head in the wild as well, everyone. So anyway, we'll see what the poll says on that. But to the poor guy who just got taken down in Esperance, we're thinking of his family and that. What a horrible way to lose a family member is to a crocodile attack or a shark attack. The guy last year in Cooktown, walking along the banks of the river, and the bank of the river collapsed and he fell in I think it was the Endeavour River or whatever. And his wife was trying to get him back up and a croc come up and took him in front of his wife. So it's just bloody horrible, isn't it? And it happens. Bobcat, I want some cold, and so do I. So anyway, Stefan, that was a good win for Stefan with DCS. The shark attack, we'll get on to Tariffs soon. Guys, I'm going to put a thing up in a minute. You can come on soon and have a say. If you want to, Aussie place like Aussie and all that, if you want to come on and have your say, guys, you're quite welcome to come on. Keep it all respectful. You know the rules. Keep it respectful. Keep the language down. And I'll put the link up soon and you can come on and have a say good day to everyone. And if there's something eating away at you that you want to get off your chest, come on and have a say and we'll all either agree with you or shoot you down in flames. Big Trav, g'day, mate. Speaking of West Aussie, is Big Trav's on. It's like a totem is the turtle. Okay. Big Trav said, my totem is the turtle, so I can't kill or eat them. Well, there you go. There you go. I know they hunt turtle up in the Torres Strait, and as much as I've seen the Indigenous people hunting and killing turtles, I hate seeing it, guys. I hate seeing it, but it's just a fact of life, because when you live up in the remote islands in the Torres Strait and in some Aboriginal communities, you can't go to the local butcher shop and buy a kilo of sausages. All right, they eat what they hunt, and it's just the way it is. And we get a bit attached to certain animals, don't we? But crocs and sharks, I couldn't give a shit about them, or snakes. Anything that can bite you and eat you and kill you, I don't really care about them. I just like cute furry animals and things that are bloody, people will go, well, why don't we eat cattle, but why don't we eat horses? I know the Dutch eat horses. There's countries that eat horses for food. Over in Australia, we go, oh, no, you can't eat a horse, but we eat cattle. So it depends what way you look at it. So a bit of, I'll tell you something else. This one will gross some people out. I was telling my brother yesterday and he said, shut up, beep. He goes, I don't want to hear about it. So I don't know if you know or not, guys, but I've got prostate problems. I've got an enlarged prostate. A couple of years ago, I went through the problem of having high PSA levels, and they thought I might have prostate cancer. I had to go and get a biopsy have an operation. They did 6 biopsies on my prostate to make sure I didn't have prostate cancer. Anyway, I got cleared of prostate cancer, which was good news. But I've still got an enlarged prostate, and I still have troubles pissing. And when I mean pissing, I can't empty my bladder properly. I've got to go to the toilet all the time. It just hits me all of a sudden. It's a pain it's a real bloody inconvenience sometimes, especially when you're in a rooftop tent, which is one of the reasons I got rid of a rooftop tent, get down out of that 6 times a night, because you need a piss. So anyway, I went to a urologist the other day, and first thing, I get on the table. I said, mate, I've been through this before. I've got an enlarged prostate, because I know what he was going to do. Yep. He stuck his finger up me blurter again, guys. They love doing it, urologists. I think they just do it whether they need to or not. They throw the glove on and they just do it. So I had no say in the matter. So I copped the old bloody finger up the blurter again, which isn't pleasant. I didn't like it, let me tell you. So anyway, on a serious note then, he goes, mate, the next thing we need to do is we need to test the inside of your bladder out to make sure your bladder's not damaging itself, because, and he explained it to me, your bladder can overwork. It's got muscles around it, and your bladder can overwork trying to force the urine out, because your prostate enlarges, guys, and presses on the urethra, which is your pee tube, basically, and it doesn't allow you to pee properly, and it doesn't allow you to empty your bladder properly. So I went to the toilet the other day, and then he did an ultrasound of my bladder, and I felt like I'd emptied all my bladder out. He said, mate, your bladder's still half full. And he said, that's why you need to go to the toilet, because you can't empty your bladder. So anyway, he did the ultrasound and confirmed that I'm not emptying my bladder properly. I had to do a piss into a thing that tests the flow of your urine. He said that thing is below par. He said it's not terribly bad, but it's below par. So anyway, the next thing he needs to do now to make sure my bladder is not damaging itself by overworking is he needs to check the inside of my bladder out. And I said, how do you do that, mate? He goes, we have to stick a camera down the eye of your old fella into your bladder. And I just went, oh, you're not doing that. You're not doing that. So that might be what's squeaking, Roachy, me bladder. That might be the squeaky noise. So I said, what do you do? He says, we stick it is. You know, that little thing that joins your tongue onto the bottom of your mouth, that's squeaking when I talk. I think I need to spray some WD-40 in my mouth. I've never had that happen before. What's going on there? Can you hear it? I can. When I do say certain letters, it's squeaking. Anyway, that's because I haven't had a beer for a week, guys, and we'll talk about that soon too. So I got to get a camera down the eye, and I said, mate, like obviously it's a bloody little microscopic camera they put down into your old fella, up into your bladder, and they can see the inside of your bladder to make sure your bladder's not damaged. And I said, does it hurt? He goes, no, we put an anesthetic in there. And then I started thinking, and I said to him, you're not putting a needle anywhere near the head of my old fella, mate. And he goes, no, you idiot. Because if anyone's ever had a skin cancer cut out on that or a local anesthetic, you know how much that stings. And I thought he was going to put a needle down and inject me old fella with a local anesthetic, and I'd pass out. And I said to him, mate, I said, if you're going to do this, you're going to have to knock me straight out. You're going to have to put me out under a general. And he said, mate, we don't put you under a general to do this. We give you a local anesthetic, and I said, what, with a needle? He goes, no, we put a numbing gel down. How they do that, I don't know. I don't want to know. He said, honestly, mate, he said, it's a 40-second procedure. He said, we put a numbing gel in there, into your old fella. I'll look around your bladder, make sure there's no damage, and out it goes. He said, the only side effects is that your first couple of tinkles after that might be a little bit stinging. He said, but that's it. He said, no one's ever passed out on me. No one's ever had to try to knock me out. So I said, well, I'm going to have to man up and get it done, because he said, if there is damage to your bladder, we're going to have to operate on your prostate. And I said, can you just take it out? He said, no, we only do that for cancer. They shave your prostate basically, guys, so it doesn't push on your pee tube so you can pee properly. So that's in non-doctor's terms. So I am on some medication that's supposed to allow you to pee properly. I don't think that works. I've tried a few different ones now. It doesn't work, guys. It doesn't work. But anyway, so that's what I'm up for on the 1st of April, guys. I'm getting a camera down the eye of my old fella. That's making my eyes water, even just thinking about that. And I know a lot of blokes out there are probably going very squeamish with me saying that, because my brother just said, shut up and don't talk about it. Big T. Has anyone now? Well, that's funny you should say that, mate, Big T, every time I go to put it on, mate, I put it off for 4 years. Big T, has anyone on here had that done? Has anyone had the camera down their old fella to check the inside of their bladder out? And don't come on and say, yeah, I've had it and it's bloody painful and all that. I don't want to hear about that. Oh, wow. Craig saying, I've had the terps and you cannot drive for 6 weeks after. I'm tipping that's where they shave the prostate, Craig, is it? That's where they shave the prostate. Can't drive for 6 weeks after. Is the Terps where they shave the prostate, mate? Wow. Big T, he said he's in bed now with it. Okay. Yeah. Have the Terp procedure, which I think's shaving the prostate. Speaking of, so there you go, guys. I'm always going on about men's health, aren't I? Look after your health, everyone. Don't put things off. Okay, it's got to the stage now where I went and saw a urologist again. I'm sick of not being able to pee properly, and I've just got to go the extra step now. The medication's not working for me. Let's make sure, let's hope my bladder's not damaged, because he said that leads to other problems, bladder stones and all this type of stuff. He said if your bladder is starting to show signs of damage, you will need to get that operation done. So I'll have my hand forced on that. He said if it's not damaged, he said we'll just keep trying the medication, mate. He said we can operate when it becomes a real problem for you. So anyway, and the other thing I'm doing, guys, is today is my 7th day on a diet, and it started off as a bloody keto diet where I'm eating a lot of just meat and eggs and scrambled eggs and stuff like that. But basically, at the end of the day, I've had no bread for a week, no pasta. I've only had a tiny bit of rice. When I went for this to the urologist the other day, I went for lunch, and there was an Asian shop next door to the urologist, and I had a couple of little rice paper rolls, and I got a little bit of rice to go with it because I was starting to clog up from just too much meat. And that's another thing. I got diverticulitis. I'm supposed to be on a high fiber diet, so I can't afford to get constipation, guys, or I end up in hospital with that. So, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to cut out all the shit food, guys. No pies, bread, junk food, KFC, all that's off the table now. I'm just trying to eat healthy, eat clean, no beer for a week. I have had a vodka, lime, and soda, but I'm staying off the beers for another week at least. I'm just trying to get me weight down under 100 kilo. And I think I am. I feel better after a week, everyone. I feel lighter, and I feel better already. And I reckon I've lost a few kilos, and I'm going to go to the gym this afternoon and get on the treadmill and do a few light weights and that. And I'm going to get on the scales, and I reckon I'm going to be going close to being under 100 kilo, which will be the first time in years. So I'm on the wagon. I'm going to start trying. I've just got to try and make it a change in lifestyle. I tried having instant coffee without sugar, and it just sucks, guys. I don't enjoy it. I only have 2 coffees a day, and I'm just putting half a spoon of raw sugar in my coffee so I can at least enjoy that. But otherwise, staying off the shit food, just having no sweet yogurts and that now, just natural Greek yogurt. And I'm going to buy another one today, just natural Greek yogurt, and put some blueberries through it. Okay. And just healthy eating. And I'm just staying off the piss for a couple of weeks, staying off the beers. So, and then when I do go back onto every now and then if I want to have some spaghetti bolognese, I'll have it, but it won't be every second night having bread and pasta and all that. It'll be once a week or once a fortnight. And then just try and instead of having steak and then loading it up with potato and all that type of stuff, have a steak and some bloody cucumber, tomato, and some lettuce. And I'm feeling better after 7 days, everyone. I'm feeling light. I can feel myself getting light. I've got a little chin-up bar there, and I can already feel lifting my own body weight now. I don't feel as heavy, and I'm doing more chin-ups. So I can feel it. It's working. And when it starts working, you get a little bit more motivated then. So for all you guys out there that are cutting a bit too much weight, try and get on the wagon, guys, and start looking after your health. Okay? Try and lose a few kilos because you do feel better. You feel better about yourself when you lose a little bit of weight. So it's working for me, and I'm hoping this afternoon I go close to going under 100 kilo for the first time in a long time. I was 104 point something last Monday, and then by Thursday morning I was 101.6. So I'd already lost 3 kilos. I'm still drinking water and all that type of stuff. I'd already lost 3 kilos. So I reckon since Thursday to now, I reckon I could be going close to shaking that, getting under that 100 and get back into double figures. Once I get into double figures, my next goal is 95, and that's where I'd like to like to keep my weight around 95 there. Okay, that's what I was when I was in the army, and I felt good at 95. Depends on if you're a big guy or a little guy. Some guys might 85, but I've never been 75 kilos or, you know, as an adult. I've never been that. I've always been in the 90s, guys. So I got down to 91 once when I was in the prison. I got crook with that diverticulitis. I went down to 91 and blokes were going, reckon I look too skinny. So I'd like to get down to 95 if I could. So there you go. Bit of motivation. Bucks on the wagon at the moment, everyone. So I encourage all you guys that are carting a bit of weight, try and do the same thing. Start eating healthy, everyone. Start eating healthy, because when you get hit around the 50 mark and you're overweight, you're friggin' increasing your chances of having a friggin' heart attack, everyone. Okay? And if you smoke, well, we all know, just get off the shit, guys. Get off the shit. If you like having a beer, which we all do, just try and limit it. Okay? You don't need to have 6 beers every night. That shit just doesn't, it's no good for you. All right. I've had my say there. So let's go back to the poll. I forget what the poll was. What was the poll? It's 69. Shall we start culling sharks and crocs? 69% reckon we should. Thanks for that. I do too. I think it's time to start knocking a few of these things on the head. And I know a lot of people out there are going to go, just stay out of the water, it's their domain and all that. With the crocodiles, they are just becoming a real issue up here. They're becoming a real issue. And when you live in far north Queensland, Northern Territory and all that, you can't go near the water anymore. You just don't know where the bastards are going to be. There's a lot of swimming holes here that used to be safe swimming holes and now closed. You can't go in there because every time it floods, they get further and further out. So I don't know. We stopped shooting crocodiles in 1971. And since then, their numbers have got out of control. I'm not saying we need to wipe them out, everyone. We need to bring the numbers down. Now, here's the other thing. Steel and aluminium tariffs. They came in, I don't think, and everyone's blaming Albo for it. I don't think it doesn't matter who was Prime Minister. I think we're always going to cop that. Everyone copped steel and aluminium tariffs from the United States. And there is a little cafe. Some of you guys might know it. It's been on the news. There's a little cafe in Binalong, which is southern New South Wales somewhere. I thought it was in the ACT. They're putting a tariff in their cafe on Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Jim Beam. There must be a licensed cafe as well. Anything that's American, they're putting a tariff on it in their cafe. And that tariff money they're going to donate to some Ukraine fund or whatever for the Red Cross. So it's just a little thing. It's not going to raise a lot of money, I don't think. But here we go. I know Canada has taken all American alcohol off the shelves. Should we be doing that in Australia now? The Americans have shown now that they don't have friends anymore. They don't care about if you're good mates or whatever. Is it time I know at the moment Australia's just sitting back and we're not trying to rock the boat with Trump. We're not trying to put I can understand why Albo's doing that. Is it time for us to start kicking back and say, well, you want to tariff our steel and aluminium? We're going to put a tariff on American alcohol coming into this. Do we really need American beer in this country? It's shite anyway. I don't drink Jim Beam or Kentucky bourbon and all that shit, so it wouldn't worry me. There's probably some Jim Beam drinkers out there that probably disagree. So here we go. Let's do a poll, everyone. Start a poll. This will be an interesting one. Should Australia stop importing US alcohol? Just to make a bit of a stand. Let's get out of that screen, go back into the next one. So there you go. There's a little cafe in Binalong doing that, guys. They're putting a tariff on Jim Beam and Kentucky bourbon, Coca-Cola, all that. Should we start? Is it something you're prepared to do now and go, I'm a Jim Beam drinker or some Kentucky bourbon or I drink Miller's beer or whatever? is it time we start switching and go, well, you know what? I'm not going to drink American alcohol anymore. I'm going to start drinking Bundaberg rum or a nice Australian whiskey or a Scotch whiskey or an Irish whiskey or some other type of alcohol that you enjoy. So it does not worry me. Yep, fair enough. So there you go. I don't know. Take Scrunnel Newts is on. Take all foreign funnels off the shelves and only buy Scrunnel funnels. Absolutely, Newts. I agree with you, mate. Scrunnel funnel should be the only one. It's Aussie-made funnel. So, Jamison's is a nice drop. I like Jamison's. Yeah, I don't know. And steel and aluminium is only the start of it, everyone. When they start hitting our beef, our lamb, our grains, and anything else they import from us and put a tariff on it, it's gonna. That steel and aluminium's only a small part, but if they start tariffing our food and all that type of stuff, I think we're gonna have to fight back then. And Jackie Lambie was on there the other day saying we need to throw all the American Marines out of Australia and close Pine Gap. I think that was a bit. We're not at that stage yet, everyone. We're not at that stage yet, but that is a good tool to have up our sleeve. If he starts going real rogue on Australia, we've always got that up our sleeve, and we need a prime minister to go, hey, listen, mate, you rely on my country for the defence of the Indo-Pacific, which is your main focus at the moment. And without Australia, you're not going to have a bloody presence down here. So pull your head in. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself with no military bases down here in Australia, which means we would have to go Binalong. Yeah, it's down in southern New South Wales, Steve. Apparently somewhere. Yeah, drink Canadian Club. Absolutely. Let's start supporting Canada. Canada's got rid of all the American stuff out of there. Speaking of Canada, they got a new prime minister, everyone. Trudeau stood down before the elections, and there's a new prime minister in, and I've forgotten his name already. I'll tell you what his name is in a minute. Is Mark Carney is the new prime minister of Canada. He's stepping up to the Yanks too, but I think in a couple of months there's going to be an election for Canada. I would like to see the Conservative leader get in. His name's Pierre Poilievre, I think is how you pronounce it, and he's a very strong sort of guy that I think's got what it takes to stand up to Trump. So the Canadian elections are going to be very, very, very interesting to see if this Mark Carney guy gets in or whether Pierre Poilievre. Slacken will watch this replay and he'll go, Buck, you've butchered his name again. So speaking of Canada, Canada is now reconsidering whether they're getting the F-35 fighter off America, and Portugal has cancelled their order of F-35 fighters, which come from the United States. So there's a lot of countries starting to step up against the Americans now because of all the tariffs and all that type of stuff. And fair enough too, fair enough. And he's hit us with steel and aluminium tariffs. If he starts hitting us with all our agricultural stuff, it's going to affect our farmers and our agricultural industry guys. And if he does that, we need to start jacking up on him and start pushing back. Okay. And we've got things up our sleeve that we can push back on, and defense is one of them. Okay. So we'll see what Albo's made of if more tariffs come in. At the moment, we're just sitting back. I'll tell you what we should be doing with that steel and aluminium is we should be ringing Japan up and saying, we got extra steel and aluminium here. Do you want it? And if you do, you can build our 11 new frigates with it, our Megami class frigates. So let's sign a deal. We need to get these bloody new ships in the water ASAP. We're retiring our old Anzacs before we get new ships. So we need to hurry up, stop stuffing around, sign a contract with Japan to build these new 11 Japanese frigates, which are very good, and use Aussie steel and aluminium to bloody build them. That's what I'd be doing at the moment. I'd be in deep talks with the Japanese about these new ships. And America, you want to tariff our steel and aluminium? Well, guess what? Japan is going to take it off us and they're going to build ships with it. So that's what I'd be doing. Now, Speaking of defence, the Australian Defence Force, they're lacking at the moment. There's a senator. He's a South Australian senator called David Fawcett, guys. Senator David Fawcett. He's got a YouTube channel, and he sits there. He's an ex-Black Hawk pilot. He's an ex-Army, Australian Army aviation officer, a very, very smart man, and he is grilling the Australian Defence Force on all sorts of things about tanks going to Ukraine and all this type of stuff. So Senator David Fawcett, very, very good. Hey, Cam and Tiff from Wild Touring, guys, are on that. They've started their lap around Australia. So their first one was out the other day. They're out in the middle of nowhere somewhere. And so, yeah, Cam and Tiff, Wild Touring, they're on the way, which is good to see them on the road again. So I think every Sunday they bring an episode out, which is fantastic. So I've talked about that cafe. Has anyone been to that cafe in Binalong? Hey, but the way the government's going about gun laws in WA, which will eventually spread over here as well, we have nothing to defend ourselves with. Yeah, Mick, Mr. Bullett's been sending me a lot of stuff about the Western Australian government's really cracking down on gun laws. I don't agree with that, mate. Listen, if you ask me, I agree that civilians shouldn't have semi-automatic rifles. I agree with that. Some people will disagree with me. I agree with that. But I agree that if you're a decent person, you should be able to own a firearm in this country, as long as you pass the required. And I'm all for having strict gun laws in this country. I don't want to go down the way the Americans are going, where any Tom, Dick, and Harry can have a friggin' semi-automatic rifle, okay, if they've got a criminal history and all that type of stuff. I agree that we need strong gun laws, everyone, but I don't agree with someone who likes to go hunting or target shooting or likes being part of a pistol club. I'm all for, if you want to own a handgun, you've got to be part of a pistol club. I'm all for that. I've got no problem with that. Okay, but yeah, something going on in Western Australia, everyone, and they're getting really strict over there on guns. It hasn't come over this side yet. So I know Mr. Bullitt was sending me stuff and going, why are they all trying to take our guns off us? Well, they're not here. You can still own a gun here. You can still apply for a firearms license in Queensland. You can still get any weapon you want if it's an approved weapon. And I'm talking about, you can still go and get a handgun with a 10-round magazine. There are restrictions when you compare it to the Americans. But I don't know what's going on in West Aussie. But yeah, you can't go taking guns. At the end of the day, if we have to defend this country, it shouldn't be up to us with bolt action rifles to defend this country. And we talked about it before. There should be a massive stock of bloody weapons in this country so that if we need to mobilise, the weapons are already there. So and you start off with every ex-serving member, me and Utes and all these guys, even though we're old and fat and all that now, we'd be still first in line to grab a uniform and a weapon and say, where do you want us? What do you want us doing? Okay, so we need to have a massive stock. You wouldn't be fighting an invading force with bolt action rifles, guys. One would hope we'd all be armed up with bloody EF-88 Steyrs with unlimited ammunition. So anyway, let's hope it doesn't get to that, eh? We won't go on to the guns. That wasn't something I was going to talk about this morning. So let's go back to that poll. Should we stop importing US alcohol? There you go. That's higher than I thought it would be, everyone. 73% are saying yes. 73% are saying yes. End the poll there. I thought that might be a 50-50, but that's overwhelmingly people are saying no, we should get away from that. So anyway. It's not been along, it's been along, is it? BINALONG, I've got written here. That, to me, that's Binalong. There's an electorate in Canberra called Binalong, but the town is called Binalong. Oh, if it's called Binalong, it's called Binalong. Okay, Binalong. But anyway, there's a cafe there, and they put a tariff on American soft drink and American alcohol. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time if we get tariffed again, and this is where this should kick in. If we get tariffed again on anything else, it is time for Albo to go. Every alcohol company in this country, run the stocks of American alcohol down, and that's no more will be imported into this country. We are not don't put a tariff on it. Just stop importing it. Don't put a tariff on it, because all that does is the bloke that likes Jim Beam will then have to put 100% tariff on. Instead of buying a 40-pounder for bloody $50, it's going to cost them 100. Just stop importing it. Those people can go and drink Jameson's or a nice Scotch whiskey or a nice Bundy rum or something like that. There's plenty of other spirits out there that we can drink without going American. Steve Wilkes is on in Mexico. What's the yeah, well, we got to get away from that, Steve. We got to stop relying on the Yanks, mate. We're not going to stop them with rifles, I know that, but we are putting in, there is a lot of things in at the moment. We're getting long-range missiles, and they're going to start producing missiles and rockets and all that in Newcastle. We need to start looking after ourselves. We need to start producing our military hardware in this country, things like rockets and long-range rockets and all that type of stuff. So we are doing things like that, Steve. We're about to get HIMARS, which is American, but the rockets to go in them, I think we're going to start producing here in Australia. We're also looking at getting shore-based long-range missiles, and the ones we're getting, those ships that were out of Sydney not long ago, the Army, the Australian Army, not the Navy, we would have had the capability of hitting those ships from the shore. We're getting missiles that can go up to 500 kilometres from a shore-based thing. So, and we're looking at producing those missiles here in Australia, mate. So we need to get away from relying on the Americans all the time. We need to stand on our own 2 feet. And, mate, he is on the nose at the moment. I don't know what you think about him, Steve. He's on the nose, mate, and everyone has had a gutful of him. He's come in to do all this stuff, and he's just gone out. He's bloody pissing everyone off. I used to like the guy. I don't anymore. I've changed my tune on him big time. And it only took a couple of weeks for me to change my tune. Always been on the fence with him. Like some stuff he's done and all that. Always knew he was a narcissist, always up himself, but he's just gone to a whole new level. He has gone to a whole new level. And even Fox News in America are starting to say things against him. And you don't ever see that. Some people on Fox News are starting to bloody realise now that, oh, geez, this isn't good. Anyway, so did anyone see Steve Fuller? His new clip this morning, guys. He hasn't got a hat on. Now, that's my next poll. That's my next poll. Start a poll. Should Fuller be banned from not wearing a hat? So he was on there and he came on. He's usually like me. He's always got a hat on. He had no hat on this morning. He dyes his hair. So that's the new poll. Should Fuller be banned from not wearing a hat? So should he have to wear a hat at all times? Should have been the question. Yep, exactly. And that's what we're going to do, Steve. That's exactly what we're going to do, mate. And that is going to mean cutting America away. That's what we need to do. If I was the Prime Minister, and that's what a lot of countries are doing, mate, they're cutting the Yanks away. And the Yanks are going to really realise soon that when all the countries start turning against him, the USA is not going to be as strong as what they think they are. Okay, Canada's doing it. Mexico, I'm not quite sure what's going on with Mexico there. The European nations, they're all looking elsewhere, mate. Okay, they're all looking elsewhere. And that's what Australia needs to do, not be so reliant on them. And if they get real putrid, then maybe they need to take their military and go elsewhere. And they don't, we don't owe the Americans anything anymore, mate. We've helped them enough since World War II. The only reason they come down and helped us in World War II was because bloody Pearl Harbor. Would they have come and helped us if Pearl Harbor didn't get hit? Probably not. So that's a whole new rabbit hole, isn't it? Yeah, we need to ramp up our defence, everyone. You know about that. We all know about that. You'll be invited on to have your say soon, everyone. So I'll put the thing up. Now, listen, here's another one that's going to piss everyone off, and I think we'll all agree on this one. They just made an announcement. Electricity is going up by another 9% around the country. It's going to affect everyone. We all use electricity, don't we? Another 9%. Come on. The cost of living in this country is out of control. And that Chris Bowen the other day, that piece of shit, comes on and says, oh, what Australians have got to do, it's going to go up by 9%. But what Australians have got to do is shop around and get the best deal and save yourself some money. After he says electricity is going up by 9%. Our electricity bills here are still bullshit. I've got solar panels on the roof, and the electricity bills are still bullshit, everyone. Like the solar panels now. Like used to get really cheap bills. It's just going up and up and up. And even with solar panels, your electricity bills are still expensive. Another 9%. That's why we can't manufacture in this country. It's because the cost of electricity, the cost of power. That's going to be another poll soon. We'll get off let's go and check Steve. This one. Should Fuller be banned from not wearing a hat? 79% have said yes. Fuller, put a hat on. Put a hat on. Everyone doesn't want to see you without a hat on. So Chris Bowen go, oh, you got to shop around. Well, guess what up here in far north Queensland, everyone? We've got one electricity provider, Ergon Energy. That is it. We're always getting people ringing up. Oh, do you want to see if we can shop around and get you a better deal on electricity? And I go to them, yeah, right. Oh, who with, mate? What electricity company? Oh, where are you again? I said, up near Keens. Oh, you've only got one provider. Exactly right. So don't ring me up again. We got one electricity provider up here, Ergon Energy. Unlike you people in the big cities that can shop around and try and get a better deal, we cannot do that up here. And there's probably a lot of other places in Australia that you can't shop around and get a better deal like you can with your insurances and all that type of stuff. We got Ergon Energy up here, guys. That is it. We have to pay. If we want to use our computers and have a fridge and all that, we got to pay whatever they charge us. And it's going up by, Mike Blakely's on. G'day. Keep the hat on like Buck, Mike reckons. Exactly right. So it's just bullshit. Another 9%. So every business out there, you can guarantee they're paying more electricity. The cost of all their stuff's going to go up. So we're paying through our ass again. Now, here's the next poll, everyone. I'm going to type it out and then I'll put it up. Next poll. Start a poll. Do we need to start opening up coal power stations again? Because it's obvious to me that all this renewable energy isn't working, everyone. South Australia is still having power outages all the time, apparently, because the renewables energy down there can't keep up with the demand. Now, here's my thing. We know the LNP party, if they get in, they're going to look down and look at getting nuclear power. Now, I know that's a dirty word to a lot of people, and it makes people very nervous. I'm one of them. But maybe we need to take the step. Nuclear power, it's greener. Apparently, once it's established, it's cheaper once you get it up and running. And a nuclear power station provides clean, reliable energy for like 60 to 90 years or something. Okay. Do we need to reopen? Do we need to step back and reopen coal power stations until we get nuclear up and running? Do we need to go back and just open up some more coal power stations? We've got enough coal to power them. We all know that. Just until we get nuclear up and running. Because this green energy thing isn't working, everyone. It's not working. Since they've started putting all these windmills in and solar panels, all that's happened is that power's become more unreliable and friggin' electricity costs have gone up. We all know that. I think we all agree with that one. Yeah, and that's right. Who said? Samantha and Fish. Green energy policy is bullshit, killing our cost of living and power bills. In hot and cold climates, pensioners can't afford to heat their homes. I know, and someone's mentioned something about the environmental. We always go on about, yeah, coal power's not clean energy and all that type of stuff. I get that. But have you seen the amount of rainforest and the environmental damage they are doing for these windmills, their land that they're clearing, the amount of concrete and steel that is required. And then when the blades on those turbines are finished, they can't recycle them. They're digging dirty big holes up here in far north Queensland and burying them. They're just burying them into landfill. How is that environmentally friendly? Maybe it is better we go back to coal power stations to give Australia cheaper and more reliable until we get nuclear up and running. That's got to be an option, hasn't it? I'm not saying that's got to be the option. It's got to be in the discussion, maybe. Is anyone talking about that? I don't know. But I'll tell you now, this green energy and all that, these windmills, they're not environmentally friendly, everyone. Once they're up and running, and that they might be running off the wind, I get that. It's a great idea. But if you've seen the destruction they have to do to build those things, and then once the blades fail and they burst into flames and all that, which happens to some of them, they can't recycle it. They bury it as landfill. Yeah, 50 cubed meters of concrete. I saw Blue Dog. I saw something on Facebook, and they showed the foundation for one of those windmills, and it was massive, mate. The amount of concrete and steel that was, and the land that they have to clear for them. They're a bit of an eyesore too. They really are. When you see them, they're a bit of an eyesore, aren't they? I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? Did I do a poll? I did a poll, didn't I? I can't remember. Do we need to open up coal-fired power stations again as a temporary measure? Until nuclear or something, until we get something better up and running. 92% have said yes. Well, there you go. I'll keep that going a little bit longer, everyone. Keep that going a little bit longer, eh? So what I'm going to do, if anyone wants to come on and we want to talk about this, if anyone's got some good ideas that you think people might be interested in, there it is there. I've just put the link in, guys. You can click that link and you can come in the chat. As I said, keep it respectful and all that. Keep the language down if you come on, because there could be kids watching. But if you've got some ideas, you want to come on and have a say, let us know. Come on. Have your say on anything we've talked about this morning. I don't want to stay on for 3 hours like last week, guys. So if anyone wants to click that link I've just put in there, that StreamYard link, as long as you've got a microphone and a camera on your computer, you can come into the chat room and have a quick chat. We won't gibber on like last week, guys. But if you do want to come on and say a quick 5-minute g'day to everyone and have a quick say and quick discussion, you're welcome to come on. That's what I want to do on these Sunday mornings now, is get people to come on, have your say. A lot of you are having a good say in the comments, which is fantastic. We don't agree on everything, as we said. But if you want to come on, if you've got a really good idea or something I've said that you think won't work, come on and let me know why, guys. I'm only just offering bloody, the tariffs. If you want to talk about, should we start hitting America with tariffs? Should we stop importing American stuff? Is it too early to start poking the bear yet? Or do we just wait and see if more tariffs come in? If you want to talk about anything we've talked about this morning, hit that link I've just put in there. Here we go. Someone's coming on. Is this Slacken's coming on? Slacken's, as I said, I was going to keep this short. This man here, this could go for hours, everyone. Here he is. Slacken, how are you, mate?
Hey, Buck. Hey, everybody.
Slacken from Toronto in Canada, everyone. I thought you were out at a sports thing there in Toronto today, mate.
We were. We got back, I'm guessing, about 45 minutes ago. I've been eating supper and watching your live feed on the TV. It doesn't have chat, and I can't really chat at the same time. So I've actually been watching most of it, I think.
Yeah. Hey, you've got a new Prime Minister, mate. So Trudeau, what was the reason behind Justin Trudeau not going through to the election? Why did he resign early, mate?
He's just incredibly unpopular. It
Oh,
was to a
okay.
point where the Liberals were on the verge of non-existence.
And since Trumpy's come along and they've pushed against him, the Liberals have had a big resurge, mate. And I was reading there's a chance they could get back in again with this Mark Carney. Is he a chance of beating Polyev or whatever his name is?
It's Polyev, and yes, you stay close enough that it is. It's a pretty good thing. He's the Bank of Canada, the director of the Bank of Canada, and Trudeau endorsed him, and he got like 84.7% of the vote on the first ballot at the Liberal convention. So now he's been sworn in, and there will be an election, I think, sometime in the next couple of months, because he doesn't have a seat in Parliament, and you have to have a seat. Don't worry, Jack. I'm not going to go on and on.
He knows.
He knows.
A lot more.
He knows. And so then that's basically it. So they have to have an election because he's got to have a seat in Parliament to be effective. And then it goes from there. And but yes, the Liberals were basically a dead party, the federal Liberals, and he threw them a lifeline. Same thing with the provincial Liberals. They were in the same boat because of what Trump's doing, and because of it, he's throwing all these parties a lifeline because everybody stood up and like, we're not a parasite hanging off of you. We fully support you, and we've been by your side, even if you don't take it, the military stuff that we sit in, but because a lot of people forget about NORAD and our involvement with NATO and all the stuff we provide to NATO. Even if you take all that aside, just natural disasters alone, like I don't know the number of Canadians that own properties down there. It's a lot. If it was a million, I would be surprised if it was less than a million, and 2 million wouldn't shock me. Canadians spend a tremendous amount of money in the States. It's like just citizens, shopping, vacationing. They own property down there. They own stuff. We buy stuff down there. I mean, I'm at the boat show, I don't know, 2 months ago we were there, and we're at the Sportsman Show today, and the amount of stuff that is American that is being sold here, big ticket items, boats, four-wheelers, side-by-sides, trailers. We import a ton of stuff that's American. And we want to get into the, alcohol and things like that. And whenever there's a national disaster of some sort, like the fires in LA, Katrina, Hurricane Hugo, I mean, the sheer amount of the list of the number of natural disasters that we've sent crews down to help. And we don't send like one or two guys. We send like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people to each event. And sometimes it's more. I don't know how many we sent for Katrina, but it was a lot. There was no bill sent to the U.S. It was just part of what we do because they send people up here when we have natural disasters.
Yeah.
And, like.
It's not the American people doing this, mate. It's one person.
Yeah. And he has a group of supporters that just are 100% behind him, no matter what he does. But that goes with every leader. There's a group of people that supported Trudeau, no matter what he does. They're never going to go against him. They're just followers. And so that's who they follow. They choose to follow, that demagogue. They think whoever it is, and every country has one. There's people who are demagogues of Stalin. Well, Stalin was in power. Despite what Stalin did, he could do no wrong in their eyes. So you're always going to have that group no matter what. So yeah, as far as that goes, that's really where it is. So Canada's fighting back. The problem is at some point it just becomes stupid. So the Canadian leaders are meeting with American leaders, and you're trying diplomacy, but when you have somebody that's basically openly said his goal is to break the economy so he can take over the country, that's a problem.
It is, mate. And we thought it was a joke at the start, but they are still banging on about it. Americans are still banging on about Canada being the 51st state. And I'll tell you what, it makes me angry hearing that shit because you're a Commonwealth country. You guys must be furious about it. And that stupid blonde bitch that gets up behind the podium every day, still banging on about it. Honestly. And I know Mark Carney said Canada is a Commonwealth country. It will never happen. I know Polyev has said the same thing. Has Carney got the balls to stand up against Trump, mate, and keep this going, or does it have to be Polyev? What's your thoughts?
I'm guessing it's Polyev, but with Carney, it's hard to say because he's never held public office. You don't know what he's like under that position because even as a backbencher, he's never been there. It's hard to say, but he supports things like the carbon tax. He supports high taxes. He supports, all the stuff that we seem to have a lot of issues with Trudeau, he's behind it. And behind it, I mean, he was the guy behind Trudeau, but he supports all the same things that Trudeau did. So if you vote for Carney, you are not. If you're Carney, then you're really not separating yourself from Trudeau. You're just a different version of him. So I personally would like to see Poilievre get in. There's a lot of which you guys don't see. There's a lot of political stuff, because we're basically in election mode now. There's a lot of political advertising. Everybody's negative about the next guy. You're positive about yourself, but you're negative about them. Things like that. You guys know what election politics and advertising is like, because you have the same thing. And so Trump is banging on not.
Trump is banging on. So what Mike's saying is, it's not the American citizens that are against Canada, mate. It's the government, basically.
Well, there's still a group of Americans and we have some here. And we have some here that are the same way. They're like, oh, Trump's 100%. I want the Americans to get in here so we can fix this. And there's a small group, but it's the same group that's in the States that, Trump is 100% their guy. Just like there's people that, whoever the leader is now in the States for the Democrats, no matter what, that person can do no wrong. So you're always going to have that group supporting, and there's nothing you can do about that. It's when you start trying to take over a sovereign nation by breaking its economy, who's been your closest friend for 200 years. We've had their northern border secured. We've done that. You have issues with immigration, but so do we. We have. It's one of the reasons Trudeau is out, is because of the way he handled it. And that's not just immigration. It's like the amount of organizations. Sorry, Jack. Back in, and Steve W. He'll know this. Back in the 80s and 70s, and I don't know when it stopped, the IRA treated Wales as a quiet spot where they could retreat to and regroup. So nothing ever happened. If you notice, nothing ever happened in Wales, and that was because the IRA treated Wales as their quiet spot. So if you keep where your sanctuary, and your sanctuary doesn't mean it's government supported. It just means where you go to sort of catch a breather and we're safe here, and you keep Wales quiet, nothing ever happens. Then Wales has this false sense of security that there's nobody here, there's nothing going on here. But Canada has that same illusion, whereas we're probably one of the biggest sanctuaries for organizations sitting in the rest of the world. They come here, they're unchecked, they're uncovered, they're unchecked, and they're not. I don't want to say followed, but there's no oversight of any kind. You just show up here, walk through the door, and you're like, hey, and you go do what you want. I'm convinced, because this has now made the news, that China has. They do it in the States too. They admit that they've got them, but we've known about them for longer. China has police stations in Canada, and they police Chinese people in Canada, and we don't know who they are because Trudeau's just letting everybody in without a look. Yeah. And so everybody, 500,000 people a year are refugees. So that's kind of where we stand with immigration. So it's gotten him out because we started having a lot of gun violence. Like, it's a lot of gun violence. In middle of the day, all over malls, streets, schools, drive-by shootings, all sorts of shit happens now that never happened. Like 40 years ago, you never heard of that. And that's the way things are. So it made him incredibly unpopular. But with Trump doing to us what he's doing, he's made Canadians nationalists again. Like, we now are Canadians, whereas before you're like, what a bunch of dumbasses that run this country. Now you're like, okay, we're just going to band together and fight back. And yes, Mike, I know it's not all Americans. It's not even most. Excuse me. I had a great talk today with a guy. Oh, and remind me to tell you about Hercules Safaris before I get off. I had a great talk to a guy who actually runs Incinelet, which is at the Sportsman Show. He was here selling electric incinerating toilets. So you just plug it in, you go to the bathroom, you hit the button, and it incinerates your body waste. There's only two, I think he said 2 companies in the world that actually make this. But he's from Texas. So I found out about, we got talking about barbecue and all sorts of stuff like that. But, there was no animosity. I don't hate the guy. I'm like, he's here, I'm there. Yes, Mike, I know, but they started here in Canada. We had them a lot earlier than you did. The government, the media doesn't say anything because they kind of support that. But at the end of the day, we've known about it for a long time. They started testing the theory here in Canada um, because of the sheer amount of Chinese people that live here. And I have no problems with Chinese people living here, but it created an opportunity for a nation that doesn't see us as a friend, which is China. They're not the only ones. There's lots of other countries that don't see us as a friend. But still, it was a test to see how this would work, and it worked pretty well. And unfortunately, that's now they're taking that, they've modified it and put it in the state because nobody's checking anybody coming through the door, and in they go. And you knew this was happening because enough senators and members of Congress and police sheriffs and state police, and they were all screaming about what they were seeing, and you ignore it. So now you have permanently, probably, you'll never find them, because Chinese are really good at that stuff. So are the Russians, actually. Actually, I should retract that. Most countries are actually pretty good at undercover operations in some way.
Yeah.
That's just it's really not that hard if you have some resources. It's really not difficult. Anyways, but that's kind of where we sit. And Polyev is how you pronounce it.
Polyev, yeah. Police stations are nothing. We go China and international airport of their own in Australia. Yeah, we're good at and their own port, and yeah, I know. Don't get started on that.
So I'm going to change the subject on you, Buck, so I don't forget to do this. I took a picture of him, and I'll send you the picture. There's a guy that I sat with, and he actually invited me to sit down and talk to me. We must have talked for a good hour. His name is Hercules Oliver. He's in South Africa. He's in SAFA. And he has a safari company, and they go up sometimes they use a chopper, sometimes they drive. We got to talk about the Land Cruisers and all that stuff that he uses in his company. But he does safaris in the Transvaal in South Africa and up into some parts of Mozambique. And we got talking about what that's like. He wants to do a live feed with you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. I talked to him for about an hour, and I said, the truth is, your live feed with him would be kind of the way you and I are just sitting here talking now.
Yeah.
And he'd love to do that. So we got to do a really good conversation about a poikie. He explained to me, like, they one of the things that they hunt is elephants. Because there's, in the area that he showed me on the map, there's supposed to be, it supports 8,500 elephants, but they've got 44,000, and it's massively overpopulated. So, they've, just like you were talking about crocs, and my opinion, that you do need to call them. Same thing with sharks. There's, we have that problem with bears now and coyotes, which are an invasive species. You need to start culling these things because there's just too many of them. The same thing with elephants. It's like, we eat them. And I was just like, I knew that, natives, like native tribes ate them. He says, oh, elephant is really, really good. They eat it all the time. It's a red meat. It's a dark red meat. He says it's delicious. But he explained to me how he does a poikie and braais and border wars and all that stuff. But he told me how he does more braais. And I was like, Buck would love to hear this. I'm thinking in my head, Buck would love to hear this. So I mentioned about you and your channel and doing live feeds and stuff like that. And he would love to do it. Sorry?
Has he got a YouTube channel?
Yes. Hercules Safari.
Right.
And I told him sorry?
We'll talk later about that, and might be able to do. Being interesting, hearing about all that type of stuff. I didn't know they ate animals. I'm very anti these hunters that go in and shoot giraffes and elephants for sport. I'm dead set against that, mate.
But the natives eat the meat.
Yeah, I know. Well, you didn't hear. I didn't know.
But they have to cull them. Like, there's too many, so they have to cull them. Yeah. So they he says why, and the only animals they take are the old ones. They don't just they're the ones that are going to die anyways, and we just cull them out and make the herd healthier, so that the old ones aren't there. But he said that's who we go after. But again, you need permits, and it's not just hey, let's go shoot some animals. There's permits and limits and all sorts of stuff. There's all sorts of regulations to it. It's not as easy as just the way the media makes it out to be. Oh, you just start shooting people off of the back of trucks and just leave them there. The meat goes to the locals. They eat it. He says the locals love an elephant. It feeds like 300 or 400 families every elephant that they kill.
Okay,
but he's interested. So I took a picture of him with his in the background of his poster that he has in the background, and I'll send it to you. But his name is Hercules Oliver, and I thought Hercules was just a name that he gave his company, but it's his name. He's like 6th generation Hercules, which I thought was awesome. I'd love to have a name like Hercules,
It's funny to hear that because other parts of South Africa have got armed rangers and that to stop poachers coming in, and yet other parts they're culling them. It just seems a bit weird. It's like
because they're parks right on the Transvaal, for example. They're up into Mozambique, and they're parks, so they're protected areas. But at the same time, you've protected them, but then there's been no culling. You haven't had enough removed. And so, like people forget that Africa is where humans started. So humans have been hunting animals there for billions of years, like 3 billion, I think. Lucy is the start of humans. And I think she's 3 billion years old or 2. But anyways, that's when humans started. So we've been hunting animals for a very long time. And wildlife management you need it, And so he's very interesting. He's a really interesting guy. I'm not too sure exactly how old he is. I'm guessing he's in his mid late 40s. I didn't ask his age, but we had an interesting talk. We're talking about like how he does his poiky, and I said Buck's poiky's not a poiky if you stir it, but I didn't really understand what he meant by that. So he kind of explained it to me, and I'm not going to sit here on the YouTube channel and do that. I'll actually let him do that and explain it to everybody. But he's interested in doing a live feed, and he's expecting you to contact him. But I did tell him your feed, and you're like, because I asked if you could message him through his YouTube channel. He said you can.
Yeah. All right. No, it's good, mate. Thanks for putting me on to him. It sounds like he'd be an interesting guy to bloody have a chat with. That's for sure. Hey, Mark, I had a poll going. I just want to go back to that now. Would you line up for a gun to protect Australia? 94% said yes. That's fantastic. 92% said yes. So let's hope we never have to do that, guys.
Oh,
but it's good to know that a lot of you would line up and protect.
Well, I've been watching your YouTube, your feed for a little while because I was eating supper, and I couldn't comment because you were on the television. You talked about yourself, about having guns, and and I never thought of it that way, which isn't a bad idea of having a stockpile of guns. You just, hey, I'm old and fat, but I can still shoot. I give me the gun. The Russians have something, and they did this during the Soviets, and they had it before. They enacted it for the first time, really, during the invasion, during Operation Barbarossa. You know how the Germans surrounded 6 million soldiers, and by the end of August, they said, the number of divisions that we're facing is going up. We have no idea how this is happening. We can't figure this out. We've taken out, in a few months, we've taken out 6 million soldiers. Now we're dealing with 340 divisions. Where are all these people coming from? So what they have is something called second division. What that means is that the commander of a division has his assistant, and then he has two assistant commanders, but one has a secret designation, Commander Second Division. What that is every regiment, every battalion, one of the company commanders, etc., are effectively the commander of Second Division. What that is the division leaves for combat, or it leaves to get deployed, and a certain group of officers stay back. And then what happens is a bunch of recruits come in, and they take over and command those recruits. Now, they're people who are in the Army 10, 15, 20 years earlier, and the equipment they give them is the equipment they would have had 10, 15, 20 years earlier. And then they basically go through and they don't go back and start over by, re-drilling and going through. They basically re-equip them with equipment that they would have been familiar with back when they were in the Army, and they ship them off. Now, they accept that they're not a fully functional division in the sense that they've drilled together. The commanders, they don't know the men. The equipment they have isn't as good, but it's the equipment that they're familiar with. It's, if I were to hand you a Steyr, you could probably strip it and put it back together without even thinking about it. So it doesn't go away. That skill stays. So they're the same way. So you give them, whatever their submachine gun was. Well, you'll never forget how to use that. I mean, there's an example where right at the end of the war with the Germans and the Russians in Berlin, a German battalion or regiment, I think, from World War I, they got together and they spent a day fighting the Russians. They just gave them old equipment. They went right. They were a fully functional force. It was just for them like it was 25 years earlier, 30 years earlier, World War I. Of course, you're old and you're out of shape and you're busted up, but they accept that you're not as efficient as a fully modern force. But there's another group. Like, okay, off you go. Maybe you assign them, home guard duties like they did, like the British did during the summer of 1940 during the Battle of Britain. You assign them home guard duties. They can do home guard, probably pretty good. So that's not a bad idea. And just letting you know that the idea kind of already existed, that the Russians actually have. I don't know if they have that to this day, but that's the reason they have so many things in mothballs. So they have to enact second division. This is how they do it.
Yeah, but mate, at the end of the day, it doesn't take someone long to train someone now to shoot a Steyr rifle. Tell you someone who's in here that would probably know, if he's still on, whether Australia has a stock of war stocks, and I'm not talking about SLRs and old weapons and that, whether we have enough. Remember in that movie, Enemy at the Gates, and the Russian soldiers were charging the Germans, and they had one rifle per two men. So you had to wait for someone to get shot and killed before you could pick a rifle up and fight with it. So I'd like to think Australia had, if we had to mobilise tomorrow, I know we've got enough weapons to kit out all our army and our army reserve, but do we have enough weapons to keep up with the mobilisation? And say anyone who's been in the army in the last 5 years, you recall, come back, grab a weapon of that. Do we have enough weapons in stock to do that? Jared Heen may know the answer to that. If Jared's still on, I doubt it. I reckon if we mobilise tomorrow, they'd have to say to the Lithgow Small Arms Factory, you need to start pumping out more EF-88, and whoever makes our ammunition, you've got to start. I don't think we'd have enough stock, mate. I don't think we'd have enough stock. We may never. I don't
think we do either.
No, we need to. You've got to, mate. You've got to. If you're going to mobilise and bring in national service and conscription, you've got to have enough weapons to kit them out. You can't just bloody not give them a weapon. I don't think anyone's thought about that.
That's actually not true, eh? That the Russians didn't have enough weapons. Well, the scene from the movie when they're giving them, every second guy gets a bullet or gets a weapon, the other guy gets a clip. That's actually not true. The Russians had enough weapons to give everybody.
Did they?
Yes, that was just something that they came up with for the movie. It's a myth that I don't know where it started, because that's not a new thing. I've heard about that before, but apparently that's actually not true. Now, again, that's only what I've heard, and I've done some research on it. But apparently that's not true.
Newts doesn't think. Newts is ex-military too, and says, I don't think Australia would have enough stock to kit P if we have to mobilise. And mate, at the end of the day, we'll get 27. You'd like to think that we're going to war, guys. Our country's under threat. We need to mobilise. Conscription, blah 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 blah. Like we need to have. We could get an army of 1 million people like that, but you need to be able to kit them out with equipment, and we can't do it. Which is a bit of a
that's what I was talking to you. It was a long email, but that's what I was talking about, the F-15 or the F-1. Excuse me, the 9mm submachine gun.
Yeah,
it's an easy. It's like the Sten, or the PPS-43. It's a very easy to manufacture, very well made, but it's a very easy to manufacture submachine gun that you can make in very large numbers very quick. The AK-47, especially once it became the AK-74, its second generation, where they used stampings and used German gun manufacturers to teach them how to do it. Once they created that AK that could be just stamped together, I was like, that's our country's coming to an end. We need to put everybody into a rifle. That's that gun. That's what it was designed to do. It's got a 300-meter range, and it's a bullet that'll drop you if it hits you at that range, which is the range that a soldier generally shoots at. And it can be manufactured in very large numbers very quickly. It's rough around the edges, but it was meant to be that way. It's not a polished firearm. It's meant to be manufactured in huge numbers and just given to troops that are not necessarily well trained, if they're on, and you can show them how to shoot it. By the end of the day, you're shooting it. You strip it, you put it back together, you can shoot it, and you now are with a hand grenade and a one-shot anti-tank rifle like an M72, like the Law 66. You aim towards here, pull this out, and push the trigger. In one day, you can teach someone how to throw a hand grenade. We all throw baseballs, so we can all throw. The purpose of teaching people to throw a hand grenade sideways is because people didn't throw baseballs. I mean, Americans, Canadians, we all play baseball. So when you see people throwing hand grenades, it's like a baseball, because that's how we throw. Stuff like that. So it's not pretty, but it works. So if you, like you said, if you're going to mobilize your country, You've got to be able to equip them. Even if it's just basic level of equipment, they have to have a reasonable ability to defend themselves and to accomplish the mission you send them to accomplish. You're not just running with half of the people with a weapon and the other half are following them, hoping that they get shot so I can pick up their weapon and I can defend myself. To me, that's criminal.
Yeah. I got another poll coming in here, Mark. Speaking of, while we're on the subject, and this topic has come up a lot. Is it time for Australia to bring back national service? Now, I'm talking about maybe not for everyone, but for people who have been out of work for a while and can pass the thing. Is it time for Australia to bring back national service for our young men and women, guys, like they do in Israel? Has that been talked about in Canada at all, Mark? National service?
No, I think we've been volunteer for so long. That's the way it's going to be left. But you brought up Israel, which is what in Israel you go, and men and women go. You can argue women are good or not good, to whatever extent you want. A gun is the piece of weapon that does the work. If you give a woman a gun, that doesn't make it less effective when the bullet comes out. It just depends on and we're same thing with a guy. It depends on the personality of the person using it.
Well, that's right. Israel have national service, mate, compulsory when they turn 18 because they are surrounded by countries that hate them. So
they're allowed to carry firearms. They have very, very, very lax. I don't want to use the word lax because that's not the right word, but very unrestrictive firearm laws. People are expected to carry because you're expected to be able to fight off if an attack like that big attack that happened 2 years ago or a year ago with the kidnapping and started this whole war in Israel with Gaza, and the hostages. If there's kind of an acceptance that you're carrying armed anyways.
Yeah, I agree there, Craig. I'm on the fence with this. I think we need to really ramp up recruiting with the military. I'm not for national service right now. I am for national service, and I think it's for people are just sitting back, just having a ride on the taxpayers and haven't worked a day in their life. I think something needs to happen. I think we need to bring it in, and I think there should be something there where you've been collecting Centrelink payments for 6 months, and then someone comes in and starts, and you go, you have to come in for an interview, and go, all right, mate, you've been on the dole for 6 months. You're 21 years old. You're fit and healthy. You haven't been looking for jobs. You've got no intention of working. Here's the thing saying you're now required to do national service. Maybe that is an option. And if they don't want to, if they say, no way I'm doing that. So, well, your dole payments are stopping, mate. Your dole payments are stopping. You go and get a job then. Go and get a job. We need to do something. We can't just keep giving people free rides.
I agree. But to make that effective, what level of discipline do you have to impose to make them an effective soldier? Like, because if they're what a lot of them are like, if they can I'm not saying to the comment that's up, I haven't read it yet, but I'm not saying like, if you want to slack around, then if you're going to join the military, that shit stops, and you're in the army, you know what it takes, what you're going to go through. What level of discipline do you impose to turn people that would rather just sit at home and not do anything and collect welfare?
Yeah.
How do you turn them into a soldier? Well, you need discipline, and not discipline in the sense of self-discipline. You're going to have to impose discipline. Where do you have to bring them up to a certain point, and how do you do that? It can't just be with a stick, because that really won't work ultimately. So you have to kind of find a carrot that works with the stick, and there has to be a stick, and it needs to be a pretty firm stick. But you can't just make it like the Russians, or you do this or we'll shoot you if you don't attack. If you turn around and come back, we're just going to shoot you. But you have to decide what level of discipline you impose as an army to make it effective, because you can't have people just doing whatever they want.
No.
You're in the army for 20 years. You have to follow the rules, and you've got to do what you've got to do. So you're gonna, especially with a country that everybody's self-entitled and gets to say and do whatever they want. And if you say no, they can react any way they want. There's no repercussions, but you pay the repercussions. So if you don't dismantle that, having national service doesn't help, because they're just going to go there, do the exact same thing that they do now, and then you, as the drill sergeant, are in trouble, and all you tried to do was instill discipline. So you have to dismantle that. And with the number of people that don't believe in discipline, how do you bring that in? How do you force that through if everybody's against it or too many people are against it?
Yeah.
I'm not against the idea, but you got to find a place where you have to discipline. And it's not going to be pretty. They're not going to be happy. It's tough shit. But
there's
at the end of the
time
day,
you're going to have to say to people, mate, this is how it is. And Gazwaz, exactly what I was saying there. Someone leaves school, they should contribute, go and get a job of something that contributes to them supporting themselves, supporting their family, and helping out the country, getting a trade, becoming a nurse. I don't care, working in Woolworths or Coles. Every job is valuable, Mark. Every job is important. It doesn't matter what it is. Every job is important. But if you're going to sit back and try and get a free ride because you don't want to do something, then that's where it needs to be enforced. And Gazwar's right on the money there. I'm with it, mate.
I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that.
That's when the 6-month mark comes up. I've been on bloody benefits. It's time for someone to come in and go, interview time, mate. What are you doing with your life? You go and get a medical. You're fit and healthy. You either go into the military now or your payments are stopping. What's it going to be? We'll help you get in the military. I don't know, mate. I don't know what the answer is, but we need to start having these discussions because at the moment, the friggin' army, or the Defence Force, can't get people to join, mate. They can't get people to join. People don't want to join. And I don't know.
I think part of it is because of the way they see the military being run now. They're like, I'm not going to join an organization that can order me my death. But if somebody else decides, I'm not going to do that, then, that's okay. And I think part of it is the Americans used to have a thing called "Be All You Can Be." I don't know if you guys ever saw those commercials. We're Canadians, so we see all those commercials. Decades ago, it used to be join the army, be all you can be. And it showed people jumping out of helicopters and
we used to have this thing,
but you don't see that now. It's we're for everybody, and it's not. You're not going to attract people that really want to be in the military if you basically make it look like it's going to be, a Peace Corps camp where you're going to stand around and do nothing.
Yeah. Now, we used to have some really, back in the 80s, mate, in the early, we used to have some really, really good defence recruiting ads for the Navy, the Air Force, and the Army. Like Leopard tank going through a river, and you see one of the armoured guys going into the mess with a big yabby going, cook this up for us, Davo, and just showing Aussie mateship and all that type of stuff, and showing bloody our destroyers going through big waves and sailors out on deck working hard and saying you're going to be homesick and frightened, but you got a great job and you got great mates beside you and all that. Those ads have all gone now, mate. They're all these touchy-feely bullshit things. We need to bring them back, mate. And back in my day, young fellas like me at school used to see ads like that, and it made us want to join up. That's why I wanted to join up. I used to see ads like that, and as soon as I turned 17, I went in because that's the type of ads are on TV. They don't have it anymore, and it's Anyway,
Canada started doing that long before it became popular. Like the recruiting and stuff wasn't really good.
Yeah,
I actually was thinking of joining the Marines, Mike, and then when I was in high school, grade 8 and grade 12, they made us meet with our guidance counselors, our guidance counselor, and I mentioned to her, and it's actually, for me, it's a long story. Long story short is I wanted to join, and she said I can't. I can join the Canadian Army, but I can't. I have to join I can't join the Marines because they're American. And I found out later that wasn't true, but she's a liberal and, anti-American, and, Canada, rah, rah, sis, boom, bah. And by anti-American, I don't mean America should burn in hell. I mean, like, no, it's Canada, national, like, it's Canada. And I found out later that she lied to me just because of her politics.
Yeah. 78% of people, they're saying that we should bring back national service. I'm not for national service where every person who leaves school has to go in. I don't think we're near at that stage. We're not. That's shit you do when you're at war, and that becomes conscription then. But I just think we need to do something. We need to do something, and we need to start targeting people that are not contributing to this country and to your country, mate. We need to do it. Well, JFK, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. We need to start. Everyone just wants to know, what do I get out of this? What do I get out of this? Well, you get a lot out of it. If you join the military, you get a lot out of it. You get paid well. You get a good lifestyle. You make good mates. You get cheap housing. Go on to Kaz's channel. Kaz is always on there telling the young kids what benefits they get if they join the army and that. And a lot of kids join the army because
they get those now.
Say again?
Do they get those now? Because I remember you saying something about you got a pension stuff. Now they're not giving them anything.
No, not when they get out, mate. That needs to come back in. But they still get housing subsidy and all that. You get a married quarter. You get if you live in the barracks, you get cheap. You've got to pay for it, but you live in the barracks. You get your meals. It's all subsidised. It's a lot cheaper than living out. But if you do go and live out, they subsidise your rent and housing. And if you're married, they put you in a married quarter, and it's like half the prices if you're going to rent yourself. So there are still a lot of benefits. But Newts knows it. Newts has been there and done that.
And if you want to talk about,
they don't have trouble, mate.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of women who want to join, and if you don't know how to make co-ed army work, go look and see how the Israelis do it. I'm not saying you duplicate it, but you see how they make it work and go, there's a few things they do that we could do. There's a few things they do that we could bring here and do it right, or do it differently to how we would do it, and that would attract, that would make it equal or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Yeah, Nikki's saying there, that's the problem. We no longer advertise as something great to do.
Yeah.
Forcing people to join up only makes reluctant service members. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree, Nikki. I agree. But does that mean we just let all these freeloaders just keep freeloading?
No, just cut them off.
You've got to bloody...
Just cut them off. That's my opinion. Just cut them off.
I agree. You're on the money there, Nikki. Absolutely. But we need to do something. People can't... And especially with the cost of living and all this, everyone's got to get in and contribute. And it comes back, people will say, our bloody government has got to start looking after us a bit more. For the people who go out and work hard, get up at 6 o'clock every morning, go out to work hard, no matter what job it is, bust your guts, you've got to be rewarded for it. And we were saying this last week, mate. You've got to be rewarded. And after 30 years or what, you've got a nice roof over your head that you own because you've worked hard for it. At the moment, people aren't getting that, and people are starting to jack up on it. And people are starting to give up, which is unfortunate. But our government has got to turn things around, and putting electricity up by 9% in one hike doesn't help things, mate. Doesn't help things. Things have got to turn around. We've got to get rid of this current Prime Minister. Okay. Will the new one be any better? I don't think so. I think we're up shit creek. Without a paddle, everyone. I really do.
You're in a vacuum.
Yeah, that's another good poll, Mark. I'm just going to put another poll up.
And you mentioned about nuclear power. When our nuclear, because we have two nuclear power stations here, one in Pickering, one in Darlington. When they were up fully running, we had tons of power, like tons. You still generate more than we use. That's why we sell as much to the Americans as we do, because they need it, and we generate way more than we need. But nuclear power, it does work. It works very, very well. And as long as you manage it properly, and it's not cheap to manage, but it's not an expensive electricity or sort of a source of electricity to make. There are dangers to it because it's nuclear or because I've been saying it Homer Simpson's way for a while now. Nuclear, but I've been saying a nuclear because that's how Homer Simpson pronounces it. But that's one of the things that, we can manage that. It just requires a lot of safety protocols and precautions, but it works. It works very, very well. It's just expensive to get up and going. Once you've got it, and it costs money to keep it, but it's way cheaper than what it gets advertised as. And it is very safe. I mean, we have two now nuclear power plants here. One's in Pickering, one's in Darlington. And there was a big joke for a long time. I don't know if it's still around much now, which is, I'm not worried about us getting nuked. If they nuke us between Pickering and Darlington, the entire Southern Ontario will no longer exist, and Northern New York, because they're just that big. But that's not a reason to not have nuclear power.
Yeah. Well, this Peter Dutton, who's our opposition leader at the moment, Mark, he wants to bring in nuclear power stations. It's copping a lot of flack. I know people are a bit reluctant about it. That's why we didn't go with nuclear submarines earlier, which we should have. We should have already had nuclear submarines by now.
We should have them too.
And
yeah, burning coal for electricity is cheap. And if you put scrubbers in the funnels, then you really don't push much waste out anyway. The scrubbers clean it. You just maintain it and clean it. You don't really have to worry about it.
Yeah, invent a way to make our coal power stations more environmentally friendly. And I'm not saying that we should just go back to that and not look at any other options.
Yeah, China gets all its power. They have, I don't know how many coal-fired plants they have, but they have no scrubbers. They have no scrubbers in their smokestack, and they just spew that shit out. When we had coal powered here, that was actually pretty clean because it was, once we installed them, the scrubbers do I don't know how it works. I imagine you could find out, but I don't know enough about it, and I don't care enough because we don't have it anymore. But you put scrubbers in there, and it works, and it's not expensive. And you guys have huge coal reserves. So does the state. So do we. You have massive coal reserves. The cost that it would be to you to put in coal-fired electric plants is not very high, and your electricity bills will go down. And that is one of the problems you have with manufacturing in Australia. It's not the only one, but the cost of electricity. Manufacturing uses up a shitload of electricity. It has to, because it just has to. So if your electricity is expensive, how are you going to manufacture at that price with that price of electricity? Forget about insurance and labor and all the rest of it. Your electricity, okay, 9%. You just whacked up our electricity bill 9%. So maybe that's 2% of our overall cost, but that's still a big number.
9% is low. Everyone's going to notice that, and it's coming in July, and that piece of shit Chris Bowen standing up there the other day saying, "Oh, you just got Australians. You've got to look around and get a better deal after you go and slug us 9%. How about you just don't slug us 9% and you do something to try and lower the cost of electricity?" We're going on about all this green energy. I love green energy too, Mark, but it's not working.
No.
So
and it's a non-starter here. And they've been pushing it for years, and it's a non-starter here. We have the same problems you do. It's just, it doesn't work. You can't have, the concept, it's kind of like, it's like having an engineer's drawing versus a mechanic having to actually fix it. It looks great on paper, but when you try to actually do it, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, here you go. This is interesting, and this is why our next election, Mark, is going to be very, very interesting. I said, will Peter Dutton turn things around? 52% said no. And that's why
people don't have faith in the government anymore.
We've lost faith
in the government.
Not just in the government, we've lost faith in the opposition. Usually it's like, we need to get rid of this bloke because there's a better choice out there. At the moment, we've got two dud choices, I think. I like to think Peter Dutton will be great. He's an ex-copper and all that, but I've got to be realistic, Mark, and say I don't know if he will. He wants to bring nuclear power in here. This is another good poll too. Well, there you go. Will Peter Dutton turn things around? Most people it got the no vote, which tells me anyone who thinks Albo hasn't got a chance of getting in the next election, think again, guys, because there you go. There's even this channel here who I would think is maybe, I'm going to put it in. I'm going to do that. Start a Q&A. I don't know how to do that. Elbow.
Why don't you do a poll? Why don't you do a poll? Who's liberal? Who's conservative?
How's that? I don't know how that.
Why don't you just do a poll? Are you conservative?
Elbow or Dutton, everyone. No, hang on. I'm going to end that.
But if you do a poll, Buck, just say, are you conservative? The answer is either yes, and if it's no, then you're liberal. And then you'll know. I'm not doing it to try to put anybody down. I'm just saying, like, that tells people, what they believe. And it's anonymous. Nobody will know.
Yeah. No, and that's the good thing about this. It's anonymous. Will you vote LNP? I should have. I don't know how to do it. I'd like to do a thing where you go, vote for Labor, LNP, or other. I don't know how to do that. I'm too dumb. Start Q&A. This one is, will you vote Liberal National? I'm in an area, guys, where if I vote Labor or LNP, it's a wasted vote because I'm in an area where I have an independent in my area, Mark, federal thing, Bob Catter, as mad as he is. No one goes near him. So if I vote Liberal or Labor, it's just a wasted vote. So I usually just vote for Bob. I'd like to see someone else get in. I think he's had his time. But this poll is going to be interesting. And no one knows who's voting here, guys. No one, you don't put a name to it. So will you vote for the LNP party in this upcoming election?
Now, so I think it was Brad Howell that told me this. Liberal in Australia means right or conservative, and Labor is left. Here, Liberal is left, and conservative is right.
LNP party is the Liberal party here is the conservatives. Really,
that's backwards from what we do. So when I talk about Liberal, I mean left wing. Conservative is right wing.
Labor is left wing. LNP, I wouldn't say they're right wing, mate. They're in the middle of it.
But there's left or right? So there's conservative and there's liberal. That's how we do it. So that's when I say liberal, I mean left wing. Conservative is right wing. And that doesn't mean extremist. It just means, left or right.
I think I've stuffed this up, mate. This poll. I don't think I've even. Have I got a poll running, Roz? Will you vote LNP? NQ&A. Confirm. No, I've stuffed it up, everyone. Let me have another go. Start a question and answer. Start a poll. Let your viewers. I don't know how to do it, everyone. I'll just go LNP, start a poll. And just go yes or no. See if this works.
That'll give you what you want.
Are you going to vote LNP, Liberal National Party, which is Peter Dutton, everyone? Yes or no? Sorry, I don't know what I did wrong there. I've got to learn how to. What I wanted to do, Mark, is go Labor, LNP, Greens, and get a spread of there. So this will give us an idea of the percentage of who's going to vote for the Liberal National Party. Now, I'm not a channel, Mark. I kind of sit on the fence. I call it as I see it. Everyone knows I don't go for elbow. Everyone knows my views, but I'm the type of person, if he does something good, I say so. If he does something I don't agree with, I say so. I'm not like he does. Everything Elbow does is perfect, and everything Peter Dutton does is wrong, which we see with Trump. You're either pro-Trump.
Everybody's partisan. I'm an independent. I voted Liberal. I voted NDP. I voted Conservative. I voted an independent. I even voted once at federal level for an independent. But I'm not a conservative. I'm not a liberal. I'm an independent. And I voted for all parties. It depends on because of the way our politics works. I don't know if yours works the same, but the way our politics works is when you vote in a party, if they have a majority, then basically they get full control. It's not a percentage. They have more than half, so they have control. So when you vote in a leader, you're basically voting in the person who runs everything. Because they have a majority government, they can put anything through that they want. So when I vote, it's strictly about the leader. I don't care who my local person is. I vote for the leader that I can stomach the most. Because I think all of them are. I don't think any of them are actually good. I think they're all in there for themselves. It just comes down to which person I can stomach the most.
I think I'd rather see Peter Dutton in there over Elbow, guys. I don't think he's showing his cards. He's too weak, everyone. You know my view on that. And Greg Campbell's hit it right on. At the moment, they're just sitting back putting shit on each other. And that's it. Yeah. It's really easy to be an opposition leader. You just sit back and criticise everything the government does. But when Peter Dutton gets in, it's going to be if he gets in, it's going to be a whole new world, mate, because you can't just sit back and criticise then. You've actually got to make the policies and you've got to make them work. And you'll be the one getting criticised. So it's easy to be an opposition leader. Everyone's an armchair expert. All of us here, we sit back and we criticise. But when you've got to get in and do the job yourself, it's a whole new ball game. It really is. And I think Peter Dutton, if he gets in, is going to realise very, very quickly that it's not an easy job being the PM. It can't be an easy job being.
No.
It's bad enough running a cafe or running your own business, mate. Imagine trying to run the whole country, mate. It's a massive responsibility, and it would not be an easy job. And I think you've got to know a bit about everything. You've got to know everything, and that's what gets me with Trumpy. Trumpy's running it like it's a business. It's not a business. Running the country isn't a business. It is in a way.
You can't. You cannot run the government like you run a business. It doesn't work. You provide a service, not you provide a service, but you have to keep your country in one piece.
Yeah.
It's not about whether you're divisive or not. You're anti this or anti that. It's you have to keep everything to keep it going. And and the problem that Trump's running into, and he's causing more problems than he's solving, is he's creating a lot of people that, whether you like the U.S. or not, he's creating a lot of distrust and uncertainty. And people are saying, do I really want to invest in this and deal with Trump? Or maybe I go to another place and do this. And you can't have, he is the leader of the free world. He is the most powerful person on earth. He can't be slapping down the people that are around him that are friends. And, this concept and he's treating Australia, you guys, the only reason you guys haven't been treated as bad as we have, as quickly as we have, but it's coming, and it has already started, is because of how hard we're fighting back. I don't think he was expecting that. And Mexico, I don't know everything they're doing, but they're not taking it either. So, it doesn't make the news here. We just talk about ourselves. But if you dig into it a bit, you realize that Mexico isn't taking it either.
Yeah. Kane Higgins.
Hey, Kane.
Kane votes for Labor. I don't vote independent, and I don't vote for Peter Dutton because he's cocky and up himself and an ex-copper. Kane,
you have the right to that opinion, Kane. You absolutely have the right to that opinion. If that's how you want to vote, then that's your choice.
Everyone's got entitled to have an opinion on this channel, and we're not going to knock you for having a different opinion to me and all that. As long as we keep it respectful. Good on you, Kane. You vote for who you want to, mate. That's what being in a democracy is all about, Mark, isn't it?
Yes, it's important you vote. Whether I agree with who you vote for or not is irrelevant. It's more important that you go out there and vote.
If you don't vote, everyone, if you don't go in and have your say at the polls, I don't think you're entitled to sit back and knock everyone. You got to go in and vote who you want to vote for. If you want to vote for Albo, good on you, do it. But if you don't vote for anyone, then you can't really sit back and I don't think you can sit back and criticise. Then you've got to take a side. So anyone out there who goes, they're both diddly donks, I'm not going to vote for any of them. We've got to vote for someone, guys. Who's got
Otherwise, shut up.
Who's got the policy?
Shut up.
Yeah, exactly right.
If you didn't vote, then you have no say in how things are being run because you didn't put your one tick on somebody. And if you voted for the party in power, then you really can't complain about them because you put them there.
No, exactly. Camp and Oz, we need to pause on immigration for a minimum of 3 years until housing. Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree.
We have the same problem here. We have way more people than we can house. There's just nowhere for them.
And I'll tell you now, if someone comes up and says that, one of either Albo or Dutton, more than likely it would be Dutton, then what he needs to do is come up, Camp and Oz. I totally agree here, mate. I think we need to go, anyone with an application for this country at the moment, it will still be processed. But from this date, we're putting everything on hold. No one's coming in until we catch up. It doesn't mean we're not going to allow immigration and all that. I think immigration's great for this country, but it has to benefit us. We have to let in the right people. We have to let in the right amount of people. And at the moment, you can't just keep letting them flood in and sponge off the taxpayer and not contribute and when there's Australians out there that can't get a roof over their head, we need to stop immigration. It's just the way it's got to be. You've got to look after yourself. Charity starts at home. We need to look after ourselves first, Mark. And then when we do start immigration, we start targeting people who can contribute to this country. And we need to be very, very careful without start targeting certain people. You can think we have to be very careful who we let in. We start letting in people that share the same values.
Yeah. Well, think of your house. How many people can you fit in your house? Well, if you say open the doors and you just keep walking in, at some point there's no more room for people.
Yeah. And that's where we're at.
There's a limit, unless you build a bigger house. But if you bring in more people, then you can expand your house. At some point, you're not going to have room in the house.
Yeah. No, we need
that's the reality of it.
We need to stop it. We need to not stop it. We need to pause it, get back on our feet, get our bloody debt under control, let our housing catch up, take a breath, and then go again. And someone needs to stand up and say that. But as soon as they do, Camp and Oz, as soon as someone says that, they'll be targeted as being racists. You know what it's like now. But I'll tell you now, if someone does stand up and say that, I think the majority of Australians at the moment will go, I'll vote for this bloke because we agree. I think everyone will agree. Here's another poll. Let's get
one of the ways that Trump got elected. That's exactly one of the ways he got elected. He said, this has to stop. We're going to stop it. And
who said that?
Elected. That pushed him over the edge. That is how we got elected. He said, like we've got crime, we've got nowhere to put all these people, and we've got children being trafficked, sex trafficking. I mean, there was just recently up, they were interviewing the head of something, and they had all these different colored bracelets, which I knew about because if you listen, in our case, if you listen to satellite radio, you get channels from the States that cover this kind of stuff. You have different colored bracelets, and what that is, it's sex trafficking, and it's human trafficking, and the kids are being sent over for human trafficking purposes, and their families back in Mexico or wherever they're from, Central America or whatever, and they're being not held hostage, but the kids are being threatened to do what they're being told to do, while their family's being threatened, and if they refuse, then they'll kill the family. Things like that, and they've been screaming of that for years. And Trump just said, "Enough of that. We're dealing with it now." And that's one of the things that did push him over the edge. And people don't like that because they just call it racist, but it's not racist to stop child trafficking.
No, oh mate, no, everyone agreed with Trump on that. If you didn't, there's something wrong with you.
But that's how he did it.
I agree with Mark. I'm not anything. I call him in if he does good stuff.
What I'm saying though, but you're right. That's how Trump got himself elected. He grabbed that one thing. He said, we have to stop this, and we're going to stop it no matter what. And that was the swing topic, or the swing, I call it the swing topic, and that's how it got pushed him. That's how he got pushed in. It's wrong to have children being trafficked and terrorists coming in, and nobody cares. Nobody looks. Who supports child trafficking?
Some people
and I think
do.
You're right.
Man, we need to put a stop to it, Justin. It's got to stop, mate. And someone needs to step up at the next election and say, I am pausing immigration for 3 years until we get our country back on our feet. No one will have the balls to say that. I'll tell you now, even Dutton won't have the balls to say that either, I don't reckon. Hey, Greggy Campbell, also shout out to Greg. Greg had a melanoma cut out the other day, guys. As we know, those things can kill you. So, Greggy, all the best with that, mate. Apparently they got it all. So, Greg's got bloody skin like me, and wish you all the best there. As I said, we keep talking about men's health and everyone's health, guys. If you've got problems, go and sort it out. But, yeah, bloody melanoma, that's the one you don't want, mate. That's the one we all dread. And a lot of Australians die each year from melanomas. We've got the highest skin cancer rate in the world down here, Mark, because of
That's from the sun, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And when you got shitty, bloody European skin like a lot of us have got from our ancestors, my doctor said to me one day, he said, you need to go back where your ancestors come from, mate. He said, you have not got the skin for this country. And he said, where are they from? I said, Ireland. And he goes, you need to go back there. I said, not on back. I hope in hell. You wouldn't catch me moving to Ireland. I've got no affiliation with that country. Just because me bloody 6th or 7th generation bloody family might have come from there, I've got no affiliation with that country, mate. This is where I live. But, yeah, so, yeah, anyway, mate, I might get going. It's bloody,
well, I've been on your live feed for over an hour, and I only meant to come on for 5 minutes, so sorry, Jack Turtle and all the rest of you.
People wouldn't expect anything less, Mark.
Julie's right beside me. She's giving me the look. I don't think she was expecting me on here for 30 seconds.
Julie be knocking you out when you get off. LNP, will you vote for LNP in the next election? 67% said yes. So there you go. So this channel here, guys, is 67% are going to vote for the LNP party. Listen, if I thought my LNP member would get in here or had a chance of getting in, I'd probably vote LNP just because I want to see a change. We're going in the wrong direction. And And the final straw for me was the 9% electricity increase the other day when our federal minister for friggin' power, Chris Bowen, he's a dickhead. He's the one who's going to, in July, mate, all our diesel and petrol-powered cars are going up in tax. More tax on them, trying to get everyone to go over to electric vehicles and all this, pushing this bloody clean green power shit. And then in the same breath, oh, and by the way, I'm going to tax you on diesel, but power's going up by 9%. But he doesn't say, because our green energy policies can't friggin' keep the power up to people in this country. And that's why I said we need to go back to coal-fired power stations until we come up with an alternative. If that's nuclear, it's nuclear. Or until
green
we
energy
catch
is
up.
a non-starter.
It's not working
for your power tools, and you put a solar panel to help your fridge and things like that. But long term, the grid cannot run on solar on green energy the way it exists now, and I don't know how you get there. Thanks, Mike.
Mike knows Mark too well. Yeah. Oh, dear. Hey, Mike, if you ever want to click that link, mate, welcome to come on and have a chat. Let us know what it's like in the US if you do want.
Guys,
we're not going to.
Guys, click the link and get on here. I'm the only one that does this mostly. You know, like you guys are courtesy box. Like other guys do this. You know, there's no form. Absolutely, there's no formal anything here. I mean, it's Buck's channel, but he's not dear about it. So just get on and have fun.
If you want to talk about how shit the Cowboys are, you can come on and give it to me. Tell you what, Mark, my bloody North Queensland Cowboys, they look like they're going to come last this year. Get the wooden spoon, we call it. So they are.
Not Mark. Did
Who's
you hear
that?
That's
Who
Julie.
was that?
Julie, give me your arm. No, she's right here beside me.
Come on and say good day, Julie. Come on and say good day to everyone.
Come on and say good day. No, she says no.
She's not. She had piss off back.
She's just telling me to shut up. She's right here beside me.
It's good that Mark comes on because we always talk about. It's always good to see what's going on in Canada and that too. And I'll tell you what, mate. I know you're saying Canada used to be all over the shop. Well, I'll tell you what, Trumpy's united you now, mate. He's awoken a beast, and you're all united, and it's good stuff. I think Australia needs a bit of we need a wake-up call too, guys, something like that too, don't we? Imagine if Trump come out and said, I'm going to make Australia the 51st state of the United States. Maybe that's the shake-up we need to get our heads out of our ass. Maybe we need something like that. I know it's probably done Canada the world of good, mate. It's made you bloody band together instead of
fighting. Things are changing here and changing fast, really fast. Like it's
for the better.
Surprising. Pardon me? For
the better?
Well, yeah, as far as people supporting the country. Like now we're Canadians. I mean, we weren't really before. We're like, it's kind of embarrassing almost when you see where your country's gone. But thanks to, I just realized this is on there. This is just from when we were at Banff. This is my Banff T-shirt on there.
Oh, okay.
Banff, Canada.
Beautiful.
That's all it is. It's not True North. It's not meant to be a political thing. It's just the T-shirt I bought in Banff, and I'm wearing it because it's comfy. It's made us Canadians. Really, you're like, okay, if this is how this is going to go, then we're just banding together, and we're like, okay, I saw a meme. I think I might have sent it to you. It says we have two modes. I'm sorry, and you'll be sorry. I might.
Yeah, Mike said
two modes. I'm sorry, or you'll be sorry. So the gloves have come off, and we're fighting back, and I don't think that was expected.
No, and most of the Aussies are behind you, mate. Being Commonwealth country, I'll tell you another. I want to see the Commonwealth, mate. We used to be a really united thing, during the wars and all that. The Commonwealth. I think we've gone our separate ways. You know what? I'd love to see the Commonwealth. I'd love to see the UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand really start to develop a strong defence thing together. I'd love to see Canada, the UK, and Australia all have British astute nuclear submarines. I'd love to see us banding together and working together, trading with each other more. I think that the Commonwealth needs to come back a bit more, mate. It's gone splintered. I know a lot of Australians now kind of, you know, they talk about changing the flag, and we're not, you know, since the Queen's gone, I don't think people are into the royal family as much. I know when the Queen was in, a lot of people respected the Queen probably a lot more than what they respect Charles. But I'd love to see the Commonwealth come back together and really start working together, mate, especially defence-wise, trading with each other, free trade agreements, start sharing everything, trading. Canada, if you need this, you know, rather than look to America, then let's look to the UK. And I'm sure Canada's got stuff that we need. We've got stuff that
you know, like it's not a one-way street. Like, I realize the Trumpers and Trump himself and his supporters are trying to make it seem like somehow we're sucking on the teeth. It is not true at all. We import so much American stuff into this country, like so much, and we export, and we also have, you know, mutual assistance, like military. A lot of you may not know what NORAD is. Google NORAD. Forget about NATO by itself. Just Google NORAD, and you know, that's just one example. And it's being presented as we're just sucking on the teeth of the Americans and sucking them down, and it's not true. You know, it isn't. The amount of money that we spend in the States is incredible. And actually, Hercules and I talked about that today, and he's booked out for the next 2 years because he said it's Canadians are not spending money and going to the States now. They say, okay, well, we're not going to the States. We're looking for other warm places to go to do other shit. And it's like, hey, this is pretty interesting. So this is what I'm going to do. And I said, part of the problem is now that you've done this, maybe like, you know what, instead of going to Florida, let's go find somewhere else to go. Oh, hey, there's Australia. Let's go look at Australia. Let's go.
Canadians always welcome down here, mate. Yous are always welcome down here. Camp and Oz, and as I said, I call it as I see it, guys. And Trump did a lot of stuff when he was signing the executive orders in the first few days, Mark. And I was sitting back going, yes. And then it kind of the Ukraine thing. But this is one of them here. You're exactly right, Camp and Oz. There's two genders. All these young kids at school now thinking they're identifying as cats. There was a teacher somewhere recently that turned up to school and was making purring noises in class. And it wasn't just as a joke. She got sacked, as she should have been.
Yeah.
Ramming down bloody all this transgender stuff and that at school. Let kids be kids at school. They'll work out what they want to be.
Yeah.
Thing. But there's too much of that stuff creeping in our schools. Camp and Oz, and I agree.
Once you turn 18, absolutely.
These bloody.
Once you turn 18, you go live your life how you want. I support that 100%. If you want to be dressed like a girl or dressed like a guy or go get a sex change or get married, have kids, that's fine. You go live by the same rules we all do. But going after kids is not acceptable.
Huck for PM. I'll have a crack rich for a day. No, that's all right, mate. If you've got a dick, you do not belong in a female toilet. I'll tell you that now. If you've got a penis, you are a male. I don't give a shit what anyone says. I don't care if you've got bolt-on tits or whether you wear lipstick and makeup and that. If you've got a dick, you go into a male toilet. Yeah. You don't go into a young female. And as I said, there's a bloke on here, JB's TV, mate. He looks like a tattoos, tradie looking bloke. He was at the shopping centre last year, and his young girl, who's 9 or 11 or something, JB's young girl, he was at the shopping centre. And she said, Dad, I'm just going to go into the toilet. And he said, you're all right, love. I'll wait out the front for you, as all dads would.
Yep.
And she went in to go to the toilet, and some bloke goes to walk in, and JB said, hey, mate, that's the girls, the bloke's toilet's over here. And he goes, I identify as a female. I'm going in this toilet. And JB said, mate, you go in that toilet, you won't be coming out in one piece. My daughter's in there. And it was a big standoff. And JB stood his ground and said, you walk in there, mate, and it's going to be on. And the bloke took off with his tail between his legs. We need more of that shit like JB, mate, calling these friggin' idiots out because it's not on. We all know it. All us normal people, you, me, and everyone else in this chat room here, just normal people, bit of common sense has got to come back, guys. And I say it all the time. You're gay or lesbian or I don't care. But when it comes to that shit, and males going into female toilets and all that shit, there's a line in the sand and you don't cross it. And no one will ever convince me otherwise, mate.
Yep.
And that's where I agree with Trump. There's two genders.
Yep.
Transgenders don't belong in the military. I stick with that. I agree with him on that one. And when we're talking about transgender, mate, we're not talking about gay and lesbian, okay?
Yeah.
There's certain things he's done I agree with. And it was going well for a couple of days, and then he went rogue and started picking on Canada, and I went, hang on a minute, Trumpy.
But he's picking on everybody else, but we're the ones getting it. We're the ones getting it the worst right now. But I think he thought it would just be done, that we'll just take it, and then he'll move on. And he's having trouble moving on because he keeps getting slapped back by us. But he's come to you. You now have 25% tariffs on your aluminum and steel. By the way, it's aluminum, not aluminium.
Oh, bullshit, mate. All good Commonwealth, you say aluminium. You're too close to the Yanks. That's what you need to start doing. That's what you need to start doing. Start saying aluminium. I can't even say aluminium.
That would
instead of aluminum. Start it off. Hashtag aluminium, and it's not aluminum anymore. And start talking the King's English, mate. You're too Americanized. It's aluminium. What else is it? It's you work in metric. You work in millimeters, and
we work in metric, but there's so much imperial to a lot. Like I'm 5'10". I'm not whatever the 3,482 millimeters.
Yeah, I know.
The number is.
We're 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot. We still talk that. Us older people do. Younger people probably say, "Oh, I'm 192." I think, "Oh, what's that in?" I still go, "What's that in?" thing. But no, you're going to start something up there, mate. It's aluminium now. It's not bloody aluminum.
And I'm 1,721 millimeters or whatever the hell the number is.
I left the fence. Here's blue. And I left the fence when we had a staff meeting at the Royal Military College discussing ADFA students, which are officer cadets, mate, Australian Defence Force Academy, students wanting a transgender bathroom. Too much for me. Here's my discharge. I don't blame you, Blue Dog.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. That shit does not belong in the military, mate. And no one will ever change my mind on that. Transgender needs to be thrown out of the Australian Defence Force. There is no place for it. If you want to be gay or lesbian, who cares? That's your prerogative. But transgender weakens that structure, the military structure, and there is no
stuff like that. Well, the military is an absolute organization where you follow the rules, you follow discipline, right? Like if you are ordered to do something, you do it, or there's consequences, or at least there's supposed to be consequences. So when people who are put in a position like that are being forced, whether if you don't support this, for example, as one example, and you voice that, well, if the organization has said you can't go against this, then what else am I not allowed to go against? And so why would I put myself in a position of being in an organization that can order me to be killed as just part of its own what it does, or can discipline me for disagreeing with the party line? Then why would I put myself in that position? I'm just going to go do something else.
Yeah,
and I think that's one of the things that's turning people off.
We wonder why we can't get people to join up. Blue Dog, there's a classic example, mate. Why would you want to join up? Why would you want to join up when they're carrying on with that shit? How did that shit start creeping in? That was never, when I was in Mark, I've been out 22 years now, that was never, transgender wasn't even, no one even knew what it was, mate. Like, friggin' hell, it just weakens it. Let's get back onto a good subject. Russ is on from the Townsville Chiefs going, go the doggies. I'm on the Titans today, Russ. I reckon the Titans will do the Dogs. So that'll be a good game. That's the 4 o'clock game this afternoon. Russ is a buddy Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs supporter through and through. So Russ is going, go the doggies. So, but anyway.
Do you have an NFL team that you support, Russ?
Hey?
Do you have I can't see the chat because I'm on my tablet. But does you have an NFL team you support?
Oh, I don't know. Russ, do you follow the NFL at all? Mate, it's not I got to say, Mark, it's not a big thing down here, mate. It really is. Not of a lot of it. If you asked a lot of Australians here, here you go. Last poll of the day, guys. Last poll of the day.
You watch
Start
NFL.
A poll, and let's.
Or do you follow it? I'm just curious because I know you were telling me that you're one of the few, like you and Nutty, but there's not a lot of people.
Does it?
Yeah.
Do you
There's
follow
not a lot of people that support it.
the grid? We call it gridiron here, Mark. Do you follow the American football guys, the gridiron? And there is a game coming here next year, Mark. I think the Los Angeles Rams are going to play. That would be it'd be good to go and just watch a game to see what it's like in real life.
Tickets here are basically sold out before they ever go up for sale. So getting to a game isn't that easy.
Russ is coming in live from the Harold Gregg units at the prison, guys. He's supposed to be. Russ is watching Buck's live feed on YouTube. Meanwhile, his unit, they're punching on. There's 50 crims punching on out in the yard. Russ has got his face in YouTube. Go up the doggies. Russell go out to muster up soon, guys. He'll go out to do a muster. There'll be about 13 blokes splattered all over the floor of the exercise yard, blood everywhere. And I remember, funny story, mate. I had my head in the computer one day, as you do. This young fella comes up to me. Hey, boss, yesterday when you were on the computer, because the crims know what you're doing. They poke their head in. They can see if you're sitting there on four-wheel drive action or something like that. He goes, hey, boss, yesterday when you were on the computer, there was a big punch-up right in front of you in the common area, and you didn't even see it. And I said, that's cool. That means I didn't have to do any paperwork on it. So, apparently, while blokes punching on, I had my head in watching four-wheel drive action and didn't even see it. Yes, no paperwork. That's how it goes. That's what Russ is doing at the moment too. But I'll tell you now, then another time too, Aussie Rules Green Finals on. I'm in one of the control rooms, Mark. So in the control rooms, we had PTZ cameras, so you can zoom around. So you're in there and you're the one they go, secure control, secure 4, can you pop cell 32? And we're in there, it's all electronic, and we can open cells from the control room and all that. So when we're not opening cells and doing all this type, opening doors, letting people in and out, we're on the cameras, zooming in, making sure people aren't bloody shooting up and, making sure the crims are doing the right thing so we can zoom in with the cameras and all that. So I get a phone call. Hey, Buck, because they used to be able to see what we're doing in Brisbane. There was a big control room. They could log into your cameras and make sure that the control room people were doing the right thing. So they logged into my camera, and I've got a fucking zoomed in on the Aussie Rules Grand Final on the Crims TV, mate, watching because we didn't have a TV. So I've zoomed in, watching the Aussie Rules Grand Final on the Crims TV in the common room. And Brisbane's rung up and go, tell that idiot to get his camera off the Aussie Rules and do his job. I got in the shit over that one. They caught me out. The supervisor rings me, Buck, get your camera off the TV, will you? I went, righto. It was Aussie Rules Grand Final day. I was zooming in to watch the footy. So anyway, I got in the shit over that. Brisbane caught me out, the bastards. So that's where Russ is watching us instead of watching the Crims. Say good day to him for me, Russ. If there's anyone there that remembers me, Buck said to say good day. If you're in Unit 2, Russ, that's where all the old pedos are. All the old bloody 80-year-old pedophiles are in Unit 2. Anyway, so the old bastards. So anyway,
and since I am here, and I've been talking for like an hour and a half. There you go.
I'd be dodgy. Lynn, I'd be a dodgy PM, but I'd be a good one, I reckon. I'd look after the boys. And and on a serious note now, I think whoever gets in has to make decisions that benefit the majority of Australians, or whoever gets in there, make decisions that benefit the majority of Canadians, Mark. Don't make decisions that hose over the majority, which our governments seem to be very, very good at the moment. And the cost of living is becoming a big thing down here, mate. It is becoming a real issue, and people have had an absolute gut full of it. If Dutton gets in, he's got to turn things around and turn it around quickly, everyone. He needs to turn things around quickly. Otherwise, he ain't going to last long either. He's going to have Aussies have had a gut full, mate. We're like Canadians, mate. We're good people. We can only take, but you can only take so much shit before you start bloody going, hey, that's enough. That's enough.
You start pushing back. First it's sort of nice. You're like, hey. And then after a while, you just, okay, enough. Like, that's the end. You cross the line, it's on.
And a classic example was many years ago, there was a lot of racial tension in this country, and some Middle Eastern guys bashed a surf life-saving guard down in Cronulla, which is one of our beaches in Sydney, and he got bashed up by one of these mobs. And the ugly Aussie came out, mate, that time, and it was massive, and it got ugly. And that's what Australians are capable of when you push us too far, was the Cronulla riots, everyone. And that was a racial thing. It's sad that it got to that stage, but it did. But it got to the stage where the average Aussie said, that's enough, we've had a gutful. And I think the country is getting to that stage again now. Politicians
remember that stabbing of that guy that went crazy in London last year?
Yeah.
Stabbing everybody with the knife, and he got the teacher and all the rest of it. That started a pile of shit that, they were trying to clamp down on people, like, hey, we've had enough. And they started fighting back, because the government is exposing you and not protecting you. And after a while, you have enough, and you start to fight back.
Yeah.
And you remember that? Steve, Steve lives there. He has a better perspective than we do, because we see it from afar. But you can ask him, like, it's how bad it got. I mean, it was making the 6 o'clock news here of, the riots and all the stuff that was going on. When that happened, you're like, you've done nothing. Now stabbings are up. And this was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. And people there were violent protests, and they were very violent. I mean, Northern Ireland, we're pissed off level violence. Like that's pretty heavy.
Yeah, I know, mate. There's a time where you got to there's a movie about the Cronulla riots. Can't remember what it's called. I'd like to know that. Camp and Oz. There's issues. Camp and Oz, I know we don't agree eye to eye on some things, but on other things we do. There's issues when you can barely keep your head afloat, earning 2 average wages, which are still pretty high in this country now. Something's failing. Back here, mate, back in my day, and generations before me, the man used to go to work. The woman would keep the household or work part-time and that, and families could live comfortably and pay a house off and do all that type of stuff. Now here we are, mum and dad out, busting their guts, working long hours, earning a good wage, because we do have good wages here, and still struggling to bloody keep your head above water. They failed us, Camp and Oz. They failed us, mate. It needs to come back. How come 40 years ago, families were getting by on one wage and getting by fairly comfortably? And now you can't get by on 2 good wages.
Yeah, we were the same way. My dad worked. My mom eventually went work part-time, because when my brother got into high school, and she wanted to do something. But, we were a one-wage family. Everybody that I went to school with, whether they're friends or not, didn't matter. All the vast majority of us were one-wage families, and it wasn't like it is now.
Yeah. You're right, Len. If you fight back, you're the one who gets shit. Someone breaks into your house, you fight back, and you get charged for assault. Like bullshit. I'll tell you now, if someone's in your house, guys, what's the old saying? Better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Don't ever let the law, if your safety's in jeopardy, you fight and you do what you got to do and worry about the consequences later. And anyway, they came in, our new Queensland Premier, we're going to get tough on crime and all that. Nothing's changed, mate. And we get sick of hearing it. Nothing's changed. He came in and said, we're not going to build a new stadium for the Olympics. Now it looks like he's going to build a new stadium for the Olympics, and they still haven't made decisions. Here's the Olympics, mate, less than 7 years away, and we're still dicking around, arguing over what stadium we're going to use and where we're going to build this and where we're going to build that. We're going to embarrass ourselves. You watch the 2032 Olympics, Mark. I wouldn't be surprised if Australia ends up with egg on our face and we embarrass ourselves badly. There you go.
It'll be the shit show. It'll be the shit show that France was.
Yeah.
France was a massive shit show. It was horrible.
Hey, do you follow the NFL? 92%, Mark. I forgot. I always forget I've got a poll on. 92% no.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
It's not popular here, mate. It's not popular, and I reckon that'll go down to 100%. If America keep hosing us over, no one's gonna be. Have I done a poll on that other one? Let's do two really quick polls before we go, Mark. Start a poll.
Well, just like cricket, there's not that many people here follow it. If there are people here from India, and even quite a few of them don't follow it anymore because it's not popular here. Some do though, but most don't. So if you were to do a poll, how many of you follow cricket, the number would be very low.
Yeah. You reckon being a Commonwealth country, Canada would be into cricket, but no, because of your proximity, you think. Would you buy American alcohol, everyone? This will test the Jim Beam and Kentucky bourbon drinkers and the Budweiser drinker. I don't know anyone who drinks Budweiser down here. Or Miller's. What's some other bloody?
There's Coors. There's
Coors. Yeah, well, you can buy most of you go into the big liquor outlets here, Mark. You can buy Jim Beam and all those bourbons from America are very popular down here. I don't drink them. I know
they
a
are
lot
here
of people
too. They are here too, and us not buying them is causing problems. Now they're screaming and yelling, and they're actually blaming us for it. But really, why are we going to pay? We got to fight back. So that's what we're doing.
Mate, I saw something on the other day. They went into a big shopping center in Canada, and there was Walmart, which is an American company, and then there was a Canadian one. And they went through Walmart with a camera, and there was one person in there. They went into the Canadian one. I forget the name of it now. It was chock-a-block.
Canadian Tire. It was probably Canadian Tire.
It was chockers, and no one was in Walmart. Canadians are avoiding the American stuff like the plague at the moment. Because of this.
They are absolutely feeling it.
There you go. 76%. The 24% that said yes, they're Jim Beam drinkers, I think.
Jack Daniels is their thing. Or Maker's Mark. Those are the three big ones. Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, and Maker's Mark.
Maker's Mark, Jim Beam, and Jack Daniels. That's Jim Beam was the other one I was thinking of. They're all from Kentucky or something. I know the governor of Kentucky is spewing, mate. He's spewing. But they said he knew the Canadians said it was coming and that they didn't want to do it, but they're doing it. So
the American, like again, I've said it before, and I've said it enough times that you guys don't need to hear it really. But we are not sucking on the teat of America. The amount of our money that goes to the States is astronomical. The amount of their stuff we import here, it's not just alcohol. Like we import a ton of stuff that's from the U.S. They're American companies bidding on our government contract. It's huge. The amount of taxpayer money that goes straight into American companies to build infrastructure and to manage stuff and to maintain things, and they've now been banned.
Yeah.
So Canada has $1 trillion. The government has a $1 trillion budget. Just the federal government. Ontario has I forget how many hundreds of billions. That's just two budgets. There's a lot more. Quebec, Alberta, the city of Toronto is the fifth largest budget in Canada. It's the country, Ontario, Quebec, BC, Toronto, and then Alberta. And so now they're talking about, well, maybe we're going to have to do the same thing. We're going to ban Americans from bidding on our government contract. So I don't know how many hundreds of billions of dollars that they get cumulatively, but it's a lot. And so that all just stopped. It's done. It's cut off.
Even Mike Blakely's not supporting the US, and he lives there, guys. He's a Jameson's Irish whiskey and Guinness drinker. So Mike's supporting Ireland, and that's a good choice, Mike. I like both those drinks. Love Jameson's is beautiful. The Irish whiskey, I probably prefer the Irish whiskey over the Scotch, the Scotch whiskey. Graham Whittaker, I'm going to say something to Graham in a minute because I contradicted myself a couple of weeks ago, and Graham picked up on it. It's quite funny when you think about it. Years ago, a car would cost you 5 years' wages and a house 10 years' wages. It's still the same applies today. I think people would disagree with you there, Graham. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not going to disagree or agree there. It's just people's expectations that have changed completely.
No.
If you speak to some of the young guys, mate, I think they'd disagree with you there. I don't think it's gone proportionate. I don't think it's proportionate anymore. And then I know a lot of the younger generation would disagree. Mate, Graham picked me up on it a couple of weeks ago, Mark. I'm going on about don't poke the bear, talking about China. Yeah. Don't poke the bear, China, or we'll bite off more than we could chew. And in the same sentence, I was talking about we should have sent over F-18 growlers to jam those Chinese ships' radars and buzz them with F-35 and that. And Graham came up and said, weren't you talking about not poking the bear? And in the same sense, but what I was talking about, Graham, I didn't make myself clear. I was talking about being up in the South China Sea, poking the bear. That's what I meant, but I didn't say that. But when they're down here off our shores, mate, I think poking the bear is its job on there. But I did mean we shouldn't be up in the South China Sea poking the bear, but I didn't actually say that. But you picked me up on it, and when I read it, I thought, yeah, he's got me there. I did contradict myself, so that was quite funny. But don't get the bear. But then the same sentence, I'm going, we should have been buzzing them with F-35.
That's right. Yeah, I have a question for you. I hope you don't mind that I when I was talking to Hercules today, that I mentioned that I asked him if you'd mind to be on his live feed. I'm not trying to take over your channel, even though I've been on here almost as long as you have. I'm closing in on hello Cricket. I'm closing in on well over an hour and a half. Just I want to be on here. But I hope you don't mind that I asked him if he minded if you did a live feed on your channel with him.
Right, I'll get in touch with him. We'll talk on Messenger and email on that. I'll get in touch with him. I'll check his YouTube channel and all that out. He sounds like a very interesting guy. Hey, who doesn't love hearing a story from a Safa down in South Africa, elephant hunting, and I never ever thought elephants were a problem and needed to be culled. Well, I think we'll learn something from that. So I'll definitely be keen to get in touch with him, Mark, for sure, mate.
Yeah, we were talking about his Land Cruisers and, the way they maintain them and stuff he does to them and, the way things are there versus, like, I guess we're comparing to sort of North America, really.
Yeah.
Hey, Lukey, I hope your parents are well.
Lukey reads.
We're talking about that stuff. Like how, like over here we have the fun police. I don't know if you guys have that term or not. We call them the fun police. Everything is no. He says in South Africa, there's no fun police. There's no. We just, it basically as long as it's, it's harmless fun, then do whatever you want.
Yeah, we got lots of fun police here, mate. They've spoiled it a bit. We got ourselves to blame a bit with campgrounds getting closed down and access to four-wheel drive tracks being closed down. Listen.
But that's people being assholes, and they deserve it.
Four-wheel drivers, we haven't treated our... You only have to go and see how much rubbish gets left at campsites and all that to know. And now when I see people go... I used to get upset about it. Oh, they're closing it down. And now I just sit back and think, oh, is it any wonder? You only have to go around on a trip around Australia and have a look how much rubbish that people just leave lying around because they don't respect the place. So I don't care anymore. If they close the place down, they close it down. I do not give a shit. I used to, but I don't anymore. We've brought it on ourselves in a lot of cases. But anyway, Mark, I've got to go, mate. I've got shit I need to do.
Too. Sorry, listen, guys. I'm not trying to take over your channel, but like you want people on, and none of you guys are coming on. So this is now my mission. If you guys don't start coming on, I'm coming on every single time.
Guys, help me out. If you don't come on, Slacken is going to overtake the channel. It'll become Slacken since 1969 instead of Mr. Buccarini. No, Mark, you're always welcome on here, mate. I love having you on. I love having a chat with you. You always got good input into everything. It's fantastic. Would have been good to see someone else come on today, but I don't think they could get a word in. They're probably going, we won't get a word in. Slacken's on. We can't get a word in. But if I do Sunday morning jibber jabbers, guys, just on all sorts of shit, come on. If you want to have a say, I see a lot of you have got some really good stuff to say in the comments.
I'd love to see other people coming on and having this
come on. Even if you disagree with me, you're still welcome to come on. And as I said, there's a lot of people here that we disagree on some things and on other things. Camp and Oz has said a few things that I don't agree with, but he said a lot of stuff I do agree with. And that's what it's all about. Come on, have a healthy discussion about stuff, mate. You and me don't agree on everything either, Mark. No one's ever going to agree on everything, guys, are we? But anyway, everyone's welcome on here. You're all good people. That's the main thing. And the main thing is we come on and the Rafa books are under production. If you saw my Facebook page the other day, Rafa books are being spat out at the moment, guys. And it looks like they're doing a really good job. And hopefully in a month and a half or so, I'll have a box of 500 Rafa books turn up and everyone on here I'm sure we'll get in, and it's all about charity at the end of the day, and we all support charity instead of, I know we mention a lot of negative stuff on the live feeds and that, guys, but when it comes to the channel, it's still, I try and keep it positive, especially when it comes to charity and all that. And well done to Jordan Glennon the other day. $4,500, Mark. We auctioned off 7 books and people threw extra money in. And Jordan the other day went up to Mackay from Rockhampton, which was no mean feat. And he spent $4,500 between 2 animal charities, mate. And absolutely fantastic. Bought pet food and all that type of stuff. The cat one, he donated half the amount so that they can get the animals immunised and find them homes and all that. So that was fantastic. This channel just keeps bloody doing really good stuff for charity, and that's something I'm proud of, guys. All this jibber jabber and all that, that's just other stuff. At the end of the day, I'm still passionate about charity, keeping things positive, helping people out. You know how we roll on this channel. So Rob the Wanderer's on there talking about something. Won't stand still. G'day, mate. Hey, Paul, how are you, mate? Hey, Buck, dialing in while going for a walk in Kings Park, Perth. Beautiful. Here's Paul from Won't Stand Still. There's a good channel for you to get in on, guys. Paul's just starting off on YouTube not long ago, and he's about to go into semi-retirement, moving up to not Karratha, friggin' the banana town, Carnarvon up there, halfway up Western Australia, guys. So get on and follow Paul from Won't Stand Still. He did a really good interview with Pete from WA Camping Adventures there. So I think he managed to sink his tinny. So he is a diddly donk, guys. He'll fit in well into this community. Yeah, mate. Hope you're doing well. Kings Park, what a beautiful spot. What an absolute beautiful part of Perth, mate. It is absolutely spot on. Make sure you pop into the memorial, mate. Have a read of all the names on the war memorial, especially from the men from the 10th Light Horse, mate, who all went over the top of Gallipoli, mate, wave after wave after wave, and just got mowed down. And all West Aussie boys, mate, from the 10th Light Horse.
Well, it's almost Anzac Day, isn't it?
Say again?
It's almost Anzac Day, isn't it?
It is, mate. 25th of April, guys. Only, a month away? Oh, a month and a bit till Anzac Day, which is, to me, mate, it's the most special day of the year for me. It's bigger than Christmas, Anzac Day. And for anyone who's served in the military, Anzac Day is the big one for us. It's a lot bigger than Remembrance Day here. Anzac Day in New Zealand and Australia, that's the big one for us.
Yeah. And you know what? For somebody like you who has a personal connection to it, it means more.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Lukey reads up me for the long goodbye again. Yeah. So he'll be going get off. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Another good chat today on all sorts of stuff. Remember, bloody, if you don't come on, when I put the link up, Slacken's going to come on. So he's put the challenge out. Next week.
I just threw down the gauntlet.
But you're always welcome on, mate. Don't think you're not welcome on. You're always welcome on the channel. It's always good to hear from you, mate. And
are you wearing your first blood shirt?
Mike will come on from Colorado next week. Mike, it'd be good to get your side. What the feeling's like in the United States at the moment, mate, in relation to Canada and in relation to without, it's always good to hear, isn't it? It's always good to hear. I know there's a lot of protests going on at the moment about the big orange fella and all that type of stuff. I'll tell you what, since he's got in, and I said this, since he's got in, Mark, the news hasn't been dull, mate. There's never a dull moment, is there? When Biden was in, it was always about what flavoured ice cream they were going to spot him with. There's none of that with it. It's just, since he's been in, it's been, the news has just been Trump, like everything, good and bad things. He just dominates the news. And the bloke's got, at the end of the day, who knows? He might bring peace to Ukraine. If he does, if he manages to bring peace and stop that war, he'll just sit back and go, no one else could do it, I did it. And that'll be good bragging rights for him, mate. I think Ukraine's going to come out hosed over out of this.
They've been suffering a lot of casualties. I think they're starting to run low, and they need a way out.
Yeah, they do, mate. And I think Trump might be giving them that way out at the moment, but Russia needs to come to the. Russia needs to. They're forgetting about one side of it, and that's Russia. Is Russia going to keep going and drive them into the ground even further? I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyway, wars are never good. Doesn't matter who it is. Is Buck 60 this year? Yes, he is on the 5th of July this year.
Your birthday's only 2 weeks in front of mine because I'm on the 18th. I think my birthday is Roz.
Yeah, you're a few years younger than me, Mark, aren't you?
Yes, I'll be 56.
Yeah.
So Roz's birthday's on the same day as me.
July, Lynn.
Yeah. Roz and I are both on July 18th.
Oh, you're July 18.
Yeah, same as Roz.
Oh, I forgot about that. And I'll tell you who else is on.
Yeah, well, her birthday's because you guys are 14 hours ahead of us, or right now it's 14. Because we moved up last week, right? Before it was 15. But because you guys are 14 hours ahead of us, it's funny because she turns, she gets a year older a day before I do, but it's all in the same date. It's like me and Trev Kelly joke around all the time about time travel. Like it's already tomorrow there, so you're in the future. So what's the weather like, and shit like that.
Midday Sunday here. And I'll tell you what, who else you share a birthday with who's in the chat at the moment? And he was born on the same day and same year as Roz, 18th of July, 1963. Greggy Campbell, mate, is another 18th of July.
Oh, wow. There's 3 of us.
Greg and Roz are the exact same age, mate. You're probably, I don't know if they, Roz, did Greg tell you what? They probably compared at the Legends camp. Greg and Roz were talking. They probably even said, "What time were you born?" They're probably down to who's an hour older than each other. So yeah, Roz and Greggy Campbell, same day, same year, mate. 18th of July, 63. So Roz will knock me out now for giving her age away when I walk out the door. She's going to give me a bloody left.
Yeah, the next time we see you, you'll just have a big shiner.
No, that's it. Anyway, hey, it's 3 hours, another 3 hours. I said I wasn't going to do another 3 hour. Here we are.
Well, you didn't. Technically, you're innocent this time.
As soon as I saw you pop up down in the thing, I thought, here we go. This is going to be a long one. And you didn't disappoint. Good on you, mate. Thanks for coming on. Thank you to everyone on there. Thanks to everyone in the chat room today. Hope you enjoyed the chat. Send me a message via Facebook or whatever, Messenger, guys. If there's topics you want me to talk about, just ask me. And if I think I've got the knowledge to talk about it, give me some ideas. If there's something you want, whether it's it doesn't matter what, it doesn't have to be controversial sort of subjects and that. I love talking about anything. But I think at the moment, a lot of the stuff I've been talking about, Mark, it's affecting all of us, mate, especially the cost of living and we've both got elections coming up, mate. So I think if you don't care about who gets in this country, you really need to have another look. I think it's getting to the stage now, something's got to give, and we need to start getting some politicians in there that actually give a shit about this country and give a shit about us instead of themselves. And when I become Prime Minister, mate, the first thing, my first executive order is, guess what, all you politicians? Your big fat pensions don't kick in until you hit 67 like everyone else. You don't get a big fat pension and get access to it as soon as you get kicked out of Parliament. You're going to wait till 67 like every other bastard has to. Yeah. That'll be my first.
That's exactly right. We have 67. It's for us too. That's absolutely how it should be.
Now, I'll tell you what I might do next week, Mark. I might do up a list of Mr. Buckaroni executive orders, put them up as a poll. I'm going to type the executive order up in the poll, and then you can say yes or no on whether you agree with Mr. Buckaroni's executive orders. And it'll be things like, I'm gonna stop immigration for 3 years. And you say, is that a good idea? I'm going to bring in national service for people who have been on the dole for 6 months. That'll be my executive orders. I'm going to sit down during the week, have a think about them. I'm going to write a list of executive orders for next week, put them up as a poll question, and you can let me know whether you'd vote for me or not on those executive orders. What do you reckon? How's that for
awesome. That would be awesome. I'd love to see
that. The first one is going to be halting no more bloody pension rises for politicians and no access to your pensions until you hit 67. That's going to be my first executive order. If that doesn't get a 100% yes vote, then I'm giving up.
You know what? Somebody will disagree with you. You'll see that won't be 100%. That'll be 97.
Timmy Nichols will come. Timmy Nichols will come in. He's the health minister for Queensland. Tim will come on and just to shoot me down. Anyway, I'm going. I've got things to do. It is belting down rain, but I've got to go to the gym and I've got to go shopping. So even if it's raining, I've still got to get out and do it. Blue Dog, Craig Tompkinson, Mike, thanks for tuning in. Luke, all you pack of legends out there, thanks for coming on today. Mark, once again, always welcome, mate. And remember, next week, guys, when I put the link up, come on and have your say, please. Come on. Everyone's welcome, as I keep saying. See you later, eh? I'm going to end the stream. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Go the Titans this afternoon, Russ, if you're still watching, and go the Tigers over the Eels. Righto, see you later.